Welcome to episode 170 of the Reptile Gumbo podcast. My brain went blank for a second because in my mind it says that we don't have enough storage on the website that we stream from, but it doesn't matter because I recorded it all on here. And so
I wondered what you were hesitating for, but I wasn't really paying that close of attention.
My brain went blank for a second, but I'm here. It is episode 170, and we are one co-host short.
We are. He lost track of time.
He's
working hard,
and stuff.
I don't know what that's like during the summer.
Losers.
You've been working today.
Don't remind me, that did suck.
I got out of the bed at a decent time today.
Way to go.
Yeah. I didn't get out of bed until 3:30 yesterday afternoon. I don't remember ever doing that in my entire life, so it was pretty fabulous. Robert will be here shortly, though, I think. When he's done with what he's working on.
I'm just trying to figure out you were taking time, and I was trying to figure out how to save space on here.
Oh, well.
Anyways, let's go to get to sponsors since Robert's not here.
So Robert's not here, but if you're looking for a high-quality PVC rack, look no further than Lone Star Reptile Racks. They offer a variety of sizes for all types of snakes, geckos, rats, and more. You can even order something custom. Shipping is available, or you can plan to pick up at a Herbst Reptile show near you. Visit lsreptileracks.com to reach out to Lone Star Reptile Racks and place your order today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We do like 15 things at a time.
And like I said, he got caught up. He lost track of time. He said he had his headphones in, so I'm sure he's either listening to his audiobook or he's listening to a podcast.
But he's not listening to us.
And totally just lost track of time.
Little Shop of Horrors, a small feeder and pet supply business based in San Antonio, and they regularly schedule feeder meetups around San Antonio, as well as other neighboring towns and cities. They offer shipping on their feeder insects, isopods, and are working on starting shipping on their feeder rodents too. All feeders are raised on a nutritional diet that optimizes the health of reptiles and amphibians that consume them. Definitely, if you're in that area and need feeder rodents, check out Little Shop of Horrors. If you need feeder insects, check out Little Shop of Horrors. They can get those shipped to you across the country. So LIL''S Shop of Horrors. I'll go search on Little Shop of Horrors. Lil's Shop of Horrors.
I had the song in my head from the
musical. Oh, okay.
Every time you say it, I get Little Shop of Horrors stuck in my head.
Sienna side Exotic said they thought I hated Canadians. I don't hate Canadians. I just love making fun of Canadians.
We have Canadians in family. On my side.
On her side, not my side. My side stays out of Canada. That's another thing. You should know how to pronounce your country. It's Canada. If you're Canadian, so it's Canada. It's got to be. Look, Nathan Katz made it on time. Way to go, Nathan. We're proud of you and Erica McVeigh. Erica McVeigh was early.
All right, so this past weekend.
What? I just said Erica McVeigh, and I've still got.
Okay, go.
I was going to do.
We've got lots of sponsors to get through, so come on.
Calm down. If you need a great LED UVB light bulb, or I saw they had their little bags for packaging up snakes. If you need little bags for snakes, if you need any of the smart devices that they sell, check out VivTech products and use code Gumbo22 to save 15% on your VivTech order. Please do that because it helps us out too. But they're great products, so go get your light bulbs. Mm-hmm. Am I good? Doing.
Well, I mean, you left off a pretty big sponsor.
Because I haven't got to them yet.
Well, my bad, man.
Chill.
It's a pretty important weekend, James.
I don't know why.
We're celebrating the whole month of June.
You're celebrating the month of June.
Yes.
I'm
6 days, man.
Just living through
6 days.
Anyways, so Herbst Reptile shows. We don't have Robert here. Robert was at the Herbst Reptile show this past weekend.
I know.
In Lake Charles, but coming up is the big one in Conroe, June 10th and 11th. And apparently June 12th is important.
June 12th is important. It's my own personal holiday.
It's Katie's birthday on Monday. So this is her birthday weekend. We're in Conroe, June 10th and 11th. If you're in the area, if you want to come to a Herb show, this is the one to come to. Come on down to Conroe, Texas.
It's going to be crazy.
And then they are over to Shreveport, Louisiana, June 24th and 25th. That is a new location. Check that one out. That used to be the why can I never remember Longview? Jesus Christ.
You have trouble with that.
I always forget Longview. That was the Longview show, but it got moved to Shreveport for now. Go check it out, see how that is. Mm-hmm. Then if you're looking for another big show, the Slidell show is July 22nd, 23rd. That's always a good one down in Slidell, Louisiana. Then up to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, July 29th and 30th. Then down to Corpus Christi, Texas, August 12th, 13th. Then back over to Bryan College Station, August 19th and 20th. Then we go back to Conroe. It feels like almost no time passes between two. Or back in Conroe, September 9th and 10th. And then the Baton Rouge show, which is a second time that show will have happened, right? That is September 16th and 17th. There have been other reptile shows in the Baton Rouge area, but none as good as this one. So that is September 16th and 17th.
Yes.
Then way out to Waco, Texas, October 21st, 22nd. Then back to Lake Charles, November 4th and 5th. It's my mom's birthday weekend, in case we're just throwing out birthday weekends.
That is.
Then West Monroe. This is a new location. This was the Pearland show. We had issues down here with the venue for now. So West Monroe, Louisiana, which is nowhere near Pearland. If you're like, oh, I'm going to replace, it's nowhere near there. West Monroe, Louisiana, November 18th and 19th. Austin, Texas, December 2nd and 3rd. Man, I put way up here. Okay. Slidell, Louisiana.
I was going to say, normally
I know.
do like 3 weeks.
I hit a button
and
and
just like,
it gave me way more of them. Slidell, Louisiana. December 9th and 10th. Oklahoma City, January 6th and 7th.
We're not going into January.
I'm into January. I'm into the future.
You're done.
And then back to Longview, Texas.
Oh my God.
January 20th, 21st. And then this is the last one.
Conroe for your
birthday. Then Conroe for my birthday, January 27th, 20th. That was.
Oh, this will actually fall on your birthday this year.
Last one did.
No, it didn't. Your birthday was on a Monday last time.
I don't remember.
I do.
I don't. It's another year in the calendar. But that was just by chance that the last one happened to be my birthday, but it's a good chance. January 27th. 20th.
It's always. So there's always a Conroe around your show, a Conroe around your birthday, Conroe around my birthday, and then the New Orleans show, which I guess now is Baton Rouge in March, is normally Joe's birthday.
Oh yeah, yes. There's the New Orleans show. It's just the Slidell show.
No.
No, I know they moved it to Baton. Yeah, but there used to be Slidell and New Orleans, and they were so close to each other.
The New Orleans one was Joe's birthday weekend. So now that weekend normally falls to Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge doesn't smell as bad as New Orleans, so that's fine.
Very true.
I've never walked through Baton Rouge going, man, this place smells like urine and beer.
I mean, I'm sure parts of it do on certain game days.
Well, gets game days. That is true.
That's just Louisiana in general on a game day.
Going around, sound like Robert asking questions, see how things are going, but around here, not much. My baby boas have all eaten at least once.
The show in Lake Charles, we were supposed to go, and I woke up that morning physically ill because of a migraine.
Well, and then I woke up that morning. Broke? That's what it was. And gas costs money, so we stayed home.
We did. It was a good lazy day though. We enjoyed it. I rested a lot of the day with an ice pack on my head, and the migraine finally went away. And by like 3:30 that afternoon, I no longer felt leaking, so that was nice.
I saw its picture. It was a very busy show. At least people through the door.
There were a lot of people through the door. What it looks like
sales fluctuated, but people through the door. That show was packed because they haven't been there in years.
I know.
So that was good. Yeah,
but that's good. So we've got people to see it the first time, and maybe the next time they're back in Lake Charles, they'll be like, "Oh, hey, this is really happening," and then they'll come to buy. Yes.
Also, go check out on Facebook our friends at Repticulture. They did not have a good.
They had a rough weekend.
Their shop flooded from the ceiling, so that sucked.
Completely beyond their control.
And then, unfortunately, Joe came home from the show and lost one of his favorite snakes, which all of us that have owned enough snakes know that sometimes you show up and they're just dead. They were fine 2 days ago. They were eating. They were wonderful, and then they just die. But he had, I want to say it was his retic, his calico retic. I don't want to say that's the one that died, unfortunately, and that felt horrible for him. So go check out Repticulture for any of your reptile needs, especially if you're in the Houston area, but you can also shop online. So help them out. Old C. Anal Sides asking how the ball python eggs are doing.
We talked about those last night.
So they look like shit. Absolutely. I said it. They are shriveled up like old man balls.
We'll get some pictures. We'll take some pictures for y'all.
But they're pearly white old man balls. So I haven't taken them out of the incubator.
We haven't touched them.
I tried to candle them last night. There's still veins and some dark areas. It looks like snakes are growing. But the problem is there's not a lot of room in there because the eggs are pretty wrinkled.
So unless they're going to like plump back up.
They're not. I have no hopes for live babies, but I don't know. It's not an issue of humidity because I've kept the humidity pretty high in there. I don't know.
Knock on wood, there's no mold.
There's no mold.
So that's awesome.
But, I'm not overly heartbroken.
We weren't planning for them, and then that's 5 babies. We'd figure out what we're going to do.
Well, it's not that. They're also ball pythons. So I'm not horrified if
Your daughter was excited, though.
But you know what? Right afterwards, I had a whole litter of boas, and those were way more exciting because boas do all the work, and I just take all the joy afterwards.
Yeah. You got some sand boas that are coming soon?
No. I got a rosy boa that's pregnant.
Rosy boa, just kidding.
It's not the same thing.
I knew it was something. Small.
Not. I've already tried putting damp paper towel on them. I've tried every trick, and it's not working. But again, they're still pearly white, and I still see veins. Sorry, Paul. I can't be a great ball python breeder like you. I apologize. Who knows? They may still hatch. I may still get ball pythons and have to.
I'm telling you, it's going to happen the day we leave to go to camp.
If they all make it, it will more than double the amount of ball pythons I own. Mm-hmm. So
the MBK or the speckled.
The speckled king will eat well.
Oh yeah.
The MBK may get. The speckled king is the one that tends to get all the babies because she's bigger, garbage disposal. Which is great. Anyways, let's go ahead and bring our guest in.
Yeah.
Make sure I don't mess up her name. Our guest is Ashley Dezan from Northern Lights Reptile Imports.
You practiced.
Hello.
I did. I knew I would. I knew I'd met.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard.
For him, it is.
I could definitely do it.
It's okay. Not many people got my name right really in my life either with school and all that. So
yeah, it was pretty awesome. I married a Lewis, and that one's kind of hard to mess up. So.
Yeah.
I went to having like a pretty basic name. It's pretty great.
Sienal Side Exotics said I'm just a shit ball python breeder. Isn't that all ball python?
I don't know where the fork is. Oh, I should have brought the fork.
Whoa. Oh. Erica, I don't know what you and Ashley have going on, but
I mean, a sexy fork. James has a spoon that he fights people for.
But I've never said it. I've never said it's sexy.
You've never called it sexy before, but you do get pissed when you can't find it.
No, just because we have one good spoon.
We do not have one good spoon. We have a drawer full of good
spoons. No, we have a drawer full of spoons. We have one good spoon. It's heavier. It feels good. It's a good spoon. And then y'all decide to use it and leave me with the shit spoons.
It's a very well-traveled fork.
I think I saw pictures of this fork on Facebook.
You did see the pictures of the fork.
oh, look, you saw something on Facebook I didn't see. Where'd you go?
It's a wonderful black.
I am friends with Erica.
I don't know. You must not be good enough friends if you don't see the fork.
I apparently missed it.
It has been traveling back and forth.
Old Sienal Side asks, Ashley, how you doing? You vending the 25th. I feel like there's punctuation and words missing there.
How you do it? How you doing?
How you doing? That's not. You're from Canada. It's not. It's how you doing, and you got to put A after that.
How you doing? A.
A.
You always have to have the A. It's so important.
Oh my gosh.
But yes, I am vending that show. It's gonna be pretty shitty.
What show?
I don't. It's just it's right before an import, so I don't have a whole lot extravagant.
Oh, so it'll be shitty because you don't have a lot of stuff to bring. Not that the show in general.
Yeah, the other vendors. Other vendors there are garbage. If she doesn't have good stuff to bring,
well, that's
the whole
what it
show
sounded
is
like.
shitty.
It sounded like the show she's going to is like a really
crap
show. And
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Oh, okay. Let's just go right for it then.
Everyone else there is garbage.
I didn't know. I don't know.
It's pretty all right.
So to let everybody know, where are you located?
I am in Ontario, Canada. Great. Like Southeast Ontario. I had to think about that one for a second. But yeah, Southeast Ontario. Live in the middle of nowhere. It's great. I love it.
I have relatives that lived in Winnipeg for a while, but when he retired, they moved somewhere else in Canada.
Naming random places in Canada?
No.
That's a big country.
I don't know where they moved when he retired, though. Nova Scotia, maybe?
You're just naming places up there?
No.
Just say it was the place with snow. It was that Canadian place where it snows.
There's so much snow. Yeah. Just all of Canada.
Yeah, my aunt and uncle don't stay up there when it snows. They travel to warm places because he's retired now, and that's what they do.
I don't want to live in the north of my own country. I'm not going to live up there in that country.
Yeah.
Hey, our summers are freaking awesome. Our winters just suck.
Yeah, summers are nice. Summers down here are not so much.
No, I'll pass. I'll tell you that. I want to go to one place, one part of the year. I want to go to Manitoba.
Yeah.
I want to go see the garter snakes.
I guess I could see that.
Smell. I've heard that the smell alone.
It can't be good. It can't be
worth going.
It's garter snakes. One garter snake smells bad. I can only imagine a million garter snakes.
You were making fun of me because I wanted to go smell the corpse.
You're not going to be washing that off for a few showers.
Yeah. Dave Kaufman posted his video. He was there several years ago, and then he went back this year.
That's how I feel about the corpse flower.
No one wants to see a corpse flower.
They're awesome looking.
It's not a million garter snakes coming out and fucking.
Smell horrific.
It's one flower.
It's beautiful.
Not millions of garter snakes fucking. It's
true.
It's the most amazing natural porn session ever.
Oh my god.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah, and then you get the males that come out, and the males that come out late will smell like females. So the other males try to fuck them and warm them up, and then they can try and fuck the females.
Yeah, that's pretty brilliant.
Yeah, for a snake that smells horrible. So that's my one part of Canada I want to go see. I just gotta go do it at some point.
I'll add it to the list of places to go.
And then I gotta find a moose and get some maple syrup.
Maple syrup is an easy one.
We've gotten some
lovely.
in the mail.
Well,
We
I
got
got
those candies.
those maple
too.
from
Ew.
Brandon Millichamp. Got me those
Brandon,
maple
Brandon Millichamp sent us they were
maple
like,
candies.
Yes.
Those are disgusting. I'm
They
sorry.
were pretty good.
They were
Disgusting.
amazing. That's why I
And
have
maple
diabetes.
cookies. Real maple syrup, though, I could live off that shit.
He sent us maple syrup in a can.
That's the best. And maple syrup in the can is the best maple syrup you could possibly
It
have.
was good.
I just have a problem with y'all putting milk in bags.
It was just so much sugar.
I just have a problem with milk. I'm not a milk person, but yes, it's in a bag.
It's in the bag. And then you have a separate container just to put the bag in.
Yeah. You know what? Those containers are really good, too, for substrate.
That's true.
Just saying.
There's one.
They're great
one you
shovels. Amazing shovels.
I
I love
just-
them.
So funny.
Milk bags. It's a
It's what they do, man.
fucking Canadian. Like,
So-
why?
Fun fact about our milk bags. I used to live in the States.
That sounds dirty, by the way.
and
In case
it
somebody
does.
listening, we're
It
talking about
really
milk bags.
does.
I
Oh,
swear we're
that's
not
so
talking
great.
about breast this time.
Oh, God. Well, I mean, it's from a cow's breast, but you know.
But you're not buying their milk bags.
No, it's processed milk bags. But milk in the States, like I lived in the States for a good chunk of my childhood, and I could not drink milk from the States at all. In Canada, no issues. I don't know if it's a bag or the container difference,
It's because ours is better.
Sure as hell.
but if it was better, then it wouldn't murder me.
Yeah,
It could.
facts.
It could.
We
I don't
buy
know you
regular-
personally. Milk may have good.
We don't buy regular milk in this house.
That's
for
true. We have to buy
me.
lactose-free.
We buy lactose-free milk for me. So,
Weirdo.
yeah.
No, bag milk all the way.
Bag of milk. Just such a. Another thing that Brandon Millichamp tried to sell me on was ketchup chips. That's fucking gross.
We have
They're-
those here.
We do have them here, and they're not
And then
good.
I don't like them.
Oh. They're like a mix of vinegar, salt and vinegar chips with tomato paste.
That sounds horrible. And I love salt
Yeah.
and vinegar, but I'm like, I don't get that.
It's a kid thing. Only kids like it. I used to, not anymore.
So if Brandon Millichamp hears this, I need you to know that she's calling you a kid. I mean, I know you're a full-grown man, but I totally support you being called a kid for your ketchup chips.
Thanks
Oh,
for leaving
gosh.
Luna, by the way.
Okay, so I just want to go up there and see a moose.
You do not want to see a moose.
I want to see a moose. I mean, I don't want to see a moose up close. I'm not like those fucking idiots that go to Yellowstone and go, "Hey, look, a buffalo," and then poke it. Like those. Fucking, I love.
Like I said,
You want to be inside a house and be
no,
like,
I
"Oh,
want to be
there's
like
moose in the front
100
yard."
yards from a moose. Go, there's a moose.
Yeah, no, you don't want to be 100 yards from that.
No, 100 yards. I'm good.
No, you'll still get.
No,
No.
You'll see a
I
moose
don't-
one time in your life and only one time.
because it'll kill you.
Not for 100 yards if it's just walking. It's not the same as like going up and slapping a moose on the butt. There are cops right around a moose. That's got to be factual.
That is not factual.
Don't double check that. I swear it's true.
No, Dudley Do Right rides a horse.
I think it's a moose. He's a Canadian. They're all a bunch of Mounties riding mooses and drinking maple syrup
No.
and eating ketchup chips.
Oh my God.
That's
Are we
what-
done talking about her being in
That's
Canada?
what Canal Side Exotics told me.
Are we
Hey,
done?
Canada's cool shit, okay? And I can say this with confidence because I lived in the States for 13 years.
Look, the only thing y'all
Depends on
have,
where in the States, though.
the only thing y'all have that bothers me is that y'all can have Fiji banded iguanas and we can't.
Yes, we could.
It's bullshit.
But they're so overrated,
I
honestly.
disagree. I want one.
Our zoo just got some. And when we saw them when we were there last week, and he freaked out in the reptile house. Like people were staring.
They're better than regular iguanas.
That I agree.
Yeah,
You know
that is a
what?
fact.
They would make amazing pets for people that want a green iguana in lieu of. Abso-freaking-lutely. But it's just their price tag scares people away because they're cool, but they breed like rabbits. So I hope
Sold.
Huh.
yeah, they breed like crazy. It's just no one wants them because they're like $1,600, and it's unfortunate because people are like, ooh, money,
See,
you
what's
know.
funny-
And
What's funny is if you brought them, if they could legally be brought here right now, and they're like, "Hey guys, we're gonna bring them to the U.S., but they're $1,600," you'd have people paying $1,600 left and right to own a Fiji banded iguana.
Probably, yeah, you are probably correct.
What is Nathan? She can't say otherwise because that would be hate speech,
speech.
therefore illegal, and she would be arrested.
Canal Side Exotic said that
I
last
just saw
year,
my
a buddy
Canada.
of theirs got their femur broken by a moose while they were snowboarding.
Mobile.
Snowmobiling.
Well, that was the first problem. They were out in the snow. I don't do snow.
Or sand.
Snow is great to visit. Like, I feel like every time someone in the South's like, oh, God, I wish I lived somewhere where there's snow. They don't know what it's like to live in snow. And think about shoveling snow and driving through snow. Because, like, we don't know how to drive through snow down here because we don't have it. And that's why every time it
Right.
snows, the North's like, oh, look, what y'all don't know how to handle snow. No, we just don't have salt. Or, like, trucks. We don't have the stuff for snow. I don't want to fucking shovel snow. I don't want to wake up early just to go shovel my driveway.
I don't like to wake up early for anything.
That sounds horrible. That sounds horrible to have to get up, put on like 5 layers of clothes, look like the kid from A Christmas Story, waddle my ass out there, and shovel the driveway, and then fall over like a turtle and can't get up. I don't want to do that.
It ain't that bad.
Would
It ain't
you be
that
the one
bad.
shoveling the driveway, or would it be me?
I'm not allergic to snow. I can shovel the driveway. It's grass that I can't be around.
That's true. That's true.
Hey, I could actually use that excuse. I'm allergic.
To snow,
The cold.
the cold,
Legit.
That's funny.
Google it. It's a thing.
feeling. I like cold. I just don't like snow.
No.
Yeah.
Erica says,
Snow
"Why you
is
have kids?"
snow is amazing. Snow is absolutely amazing. The cold is not.
I think snow's great to visit.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to visit. And then I come back to my non-snow covered roads.
Yeah, that's not fair.
So let's get into talking about
I'd say we're 20 minutes in and
I'm
totally
not
off
surprised.
topic.
The evil world of imports. No, I'm just kidding.
Goodness.
I'm just kidding. I do want to go through. So ask a couple questions. I want to go through our
Yeah.
first question first, and then we will get into it. But I want to see what other people's thought about imports are first, and then we'll talk about actual imports. What?
So before you get into that, though, there are different laws for Canada versus the United States.
Yeah, that's how that works. It's a different country.
But well, and because like you said, like she can have Fiji iguanas, we can't.
Yeah.
So
But they don't suck as much as like Australia, where you can't own shit.
like where there's no
They can still also own like everything. Yeah, no,
there's no importing period.
they just complain because things cost more.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they got all the. Y'all got all, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that y'all don't have that everybody else has. Like, there's nothing. See, she can't either.
It's just Fiji's.
Yeah, they get to have Fijis and we don't for some stupid fucking reason.
The only other thing I could think of with the role reverse is that you guys have turtles and tortoises for the most part.
That's right.
That's right. That's right. You can,
Yeah.
And we can't import turtles and tortoises because of salmonella.
just tell people not to lick a turtle. It's not.
Literally. That is the
What?
sole reason.
Well, you can go with the way that we do the law here, and it's you can't own turtles under 4. You can't sell turtles
Under 3 inches.
3 inches.
I think it's
Yeah.
3.
Is one of them.
Unless it's for educational purposes.
To try and solve that issue, the salmonella.
Yeah.
issue.
Here it's you can't sell them under 2 inches, like for already captive bred stuff that's up here. But past that, yeah, we can't get anything new or fun. Unfortunately.
I guess it's good for people not having a whole bunch of people getting cheap sulcatas and then putting them outside in the snow and shooting those
I
stupid
was just going to
videos.
say they wouldn't do well outside.
Well,
anymore.
there'd be like 2 months of the year where they could roam.
There's still sulcatas that come in, unfortunately. But very
Canada's
rarely.
definitely not sulcata friendly.
No.
Definitely not. It's purely you have to have like a year-round like a tortoise house, I guess. I almost said turtle house. Makes not a turtle. Tortoise house.
It technically is a turtle.
It is no.
All tortoises are turtles.
but
but
not
turtles
all
are not
turtles are
tortoises. That's what I thought it was the other way around.
Just saying.
Yep.
Canal Side Exotic said it's like 120 down here. It does get to 120, but we have air conditioning.
Hey, it gets to like 110 up
40.
here.
Yeah,
It does still get to 110.
We have air conditioning. We're good. We don't go out in the summer. So, Ashley is great, though. I got a bunch of hognose snakes from her a few years back.
Awesome.
I feel terrible.
Get those drama queen snakes that try to eat everything.
Yeah. No, I just so many customers. I don't know who.
Yeah, see, Canal Side Exotic, you're not important.
Oh my
I'm
God.
sorry.
That's what she just said. She said, "Thanks for the money, loser."
No, James.
That's what I heard.
I
Is that
just-
how it works?
No.
Just so many people to deal with.
That's what it felt like. Okay, so back to the evil underground of imports. So when you think imported reptiles, what comes to mind? And so there were several good answers here. We'll go through them real quick, and then we'll get into some misconception stuff, and then some obvious things that are not misconceptions. They're just, it's a tricky business. Imports, there's a good way to do it, and there's a plenty of doing it the wrong way. But what are you doing?
I accidentally hit my microphone, but then I was trying to see what was on your screen because I didn't bring my laptop with me.
You have to pay attention today?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I know.
Louis Patoe, who is our sponsor over there at Lil's Shop of Horrors, says without them, we wouldn't have a lot of stuff that we do have, which is true. I think a lot of people forget that everything started as an import at some point. I say everything. And if you own corn snakes, they didn't start as an import. So, but
Yeah, they did in Canada.
They did for you guys. Yeah, that is true. Jeremy Humphrey said, for our personal collection, it means new bloodlines and some species that don't breed well, if at all, in captivity. But for animals that are intended to be resale, it means longer quarantine times and extra precautions. Proper labeling and representation of any species, whether it's captive or import, should always be done to give buyers the right knowledge they need for proper care and expectations, which will be something we will get into because I see a lot of that where it doesn't happen. Our friend Danielle said the nicest snake I own, her Halmahera ground boa. Great dude, but normally I think parasites and all of the gravid Solomon Island ground boas that come in at shows, and those dudes with 300 species on their tables. Yes, we'll get that too. That unfortunately is the negative side. Travis Wyman, Dr. Travis Wyman, so you can feel special. Everything we have in the hobby originally came from the wild. That is just a simple fact. For those that want to work with obscure species, like he likes, weird ass stuff, wild caught imports are pretty much the only option. And almost all people working with obscure species are doing it to try and establish healthy, viable, captive bred babies. For those that work with commonly available species or the new to the hobby, there are more than enough captive bred babies to sustain them, and they should not be going looking for imports just because they are trying to save a buck. I agree in some cases. Get into that too. That said, we all know the majority of this hobby does everything as cheaply as possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's no lies there.
That is true as well. Our friend Robin Williamson said that her big tegu was an import. She got him at 3 months old. Never had an issue. I wonder if he's an import or if he's a Florida I wonder if he's a South American import.
Like a Florida import.
Because there's tegus in Florida.
Oh, so if he's like a wild caught from Florida?
Or if he's a wild caught actually import from South America.
I can message her.
I wondered that one because now you can't take anything out of Florida. God forbid you try to remove the stuff that doesn't belong.
I mean,
there.
now you can't, but then you probably. I don't know how old he is.
They get upset if you try to remove the things that aren't supposed to be there. Man, some of these are long answers. I'm trying to skip through some of I feel bad skipping through the long ones, and we come back to them later. But Brian McDowell said that Dan Mullary does it legit and right way for business and for the animal. He is one of the larger name importers. That is true. Person said new genetics from nice breeders or parasites and disease-ridden wild caughts. There is no in between. We will ask Ashley about that in a second. We see bigger gene pool, new genetics. Another person said sick reptiles being sold to unsuspecting families. Yeah, that is the negative side of this. And another one for DM exotics as well. So, Ashley,
yes.
How do you feel about selling horribly sick imported animals to poor, unsuspecting victims? I mean, people.
I am Satan's spawn. I'm sorry, everybody, but everything you get is just going to melt away and just cry in sadness in a corner. It's pretty terrible. No. Oh, God. Jokes aside, when it comes to... I very much avoid that. And if and when a seller wants to, be a jerk, none of my people I deal with, but, if someone has their own seller or whatever, and I just import on their behalf, occasionally I see some less than ideal things, and when that happens, I inform the buyers immediately. I keep them back. I have an on-call vet that I deal with over the phone, and her and I have a very good relationship, and everything gets dealt with here at home with me before anything gets sent back out.
So there's several steps to this whole process. So let's, I guess first we'll focus on the animals are here already.
Yes.
And we're selling them to general public, right? I guess most people's experience with an importer, quote unquote importer, even if they're not the actual person that truly imported the animal, but they are a reseller at a show that's selling imported animals. A lot of those. So
which one of those are you though? You're actually the one getting the animals sent to them.
So right? You broke up for about 3 seconds. I feel like I missed the most important part.
Okay. So so we're talking about most people are familiar with when they go to a show, seeing
Yes.
someone selling wholesale animals,
Yeah.
and they're not always dealing with the wholesaler as much as they're dealing with the reseller of wholesales they've gotten, right? So,
Yeah.
and Katie's asking, which one are you? Are you the person getting them in? Are you the person selling them? I think you're both, right?
So I will go through that entire process.
Okay.
The way Canada works and the U.S. works are two very different things when it comes to imports. I need to prop myself up a little bit here. I feel like I'm sinking. So in the States, how it generally works, you have your import-export license. Let's say I was in there in the States doing this. And then I would have to contact a broker to bring them in. And then I have a big warehouse or whatever, potentially, let's say, and I resell them to the public of people that sell imports. So that is mostly how the States works. Not everybody. I know very few amazing humans in the States that do their own direct shipments. But the majority of these so-called import resellers do buy from the wholesale people.
Yeah, these are the folks that they get in a giant box from the airport, and then they just they sell a bag of this or sell a box of this to a guy who's going to go to a show,
Yes.
open that box up, throw it on a table, and then sell this very thin dehydrated animal.
Gotcha.
So that's prevalent both in the States and Europe. So that's how it works mostly everywhere. However, in Canada, I have my import-export license. I am also my own broker. So I do everything start to finish, and I have the animals in my hand the entire time.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I don't have to wait that extra day. I don't have to wait for extra inspection with Fish and Wildlife. It's just, okay, I'm at the airport, I'm getting them, I am doing my own import process, and I go home. So it's depending how much it is, like customs wants to be a pain or whatever. It could be anywhere from an hour to 4 hours. Sometimes I'll get flagged for random inspection, which is fine. That happens. You just want to make sure everything's still legal and fine. And then wait a few extra hours, but I always get the animals right away after. So with that, how I work, it's a little bit of everything, like you said. I mostly consider myself a broker. So I have like animals, for example, listed on my website, but these animals are never just coming in. I am selling them on behalf of trusted, well-referred sellers and breeders I've been working with for a long time in Europe. And with that, they always like send me a list of things they'll have available before my next shipment. They ask if I could post it for them, so I do. So I make up some sales for them, and I basically just broker the sale for them and the buyer. And the buyer will pay me everything, whatever. I send all that money to the seller right before import. And basically my fees end up being, like my profit side of it, or just the service of the import.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I'll bring some stuff in for myself for resale, for expos and stuff as well. But for the most part, I'm just the broker for people. Or if they find their own animals, are more than welcome just to let me know, and I import them as well for them.
So are you mostly selling captive bred imported stuff, or are you also getting wild caught shipments of import stuff also?
So as a general idea, I'd say 90% of my shipments are captive born and bred. I do wild caught on occasion, but I'm very picky with it, like extremely picky. I'm not get them in a box, slap them at a table at the expo, and it's dead and stinky, like, yeah, I don't do that. So anytime wild caught comes in, I am very particular to who they go to. Generally, I try and make those a completely different shipment just to avoid any potential cross-contamination, whatever. But I'll get to that part in a second. Most imports I bring in on commission from the European importer. I don't do the wild caught imports myself. I refuse to. I will not do it. So I have a trusted friend in Europe or two that do it on my behalf, I guess. Like he'll get some stuff, I'll get some stuff. I bring them in. I treat them for mites. If I need to, I treat them for internal parasites. I make sure they're eating, make sure they look healthy before they go. But that's like 10% of what I actually do. Most of it is captive born and bred.
So Darren Watson in the chat said, is there competition amongst brokers?
Not understanding the question.
Do you, I guess, is there a lot of competition, I guess, for business amongst brokers? Are there many of them in Canada, or
no?
I imagine it's a very small group, right?
Yeah, so there's basically 3 of us here in Canada. I'm the only one that does European stuff. The other 2 do US and Canada.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes it easy.
Yep.
So yeah, a lot of folks, especially I know in the States, when we think expos and go into shows and we think imports, we are thinking I've mentioned before on here, sunbeam snakes are a big one, or a lot of Indonesia imports, especially like I mentioned, the Solomon Island ground boas. Been so many times over here, pregnant. There was someone a couple of years ago that bought one, took it home, and then had 50 babies thrown. Came from this pregnant Solomon Island tree boa. And the biggest problem is you wonder how many of those 50 actually survive, because we're not set up here really to feed Solomon Island ground boa babies. If anybody's ever seen one, they are really fucking small, and they don't eat mice.
Yeah, I have a lot of house geckos or anoles ready for those guys.
Yeah. And so a lot of us see that at shows. We see the people that they got a box of whatever, they brought it home, opened it up, or they may not have brought it home. They may have brought it straight to the show and put it in tubs, and they're selling these animals, and they are selling them for much cheaper.
Yeah.
In many cases, because they're trying to get rid of it before it dies.
Exactly.
It's in a lot of cases that they're trying to get rid of it before it dies on their table and dies in their care. They don't want to lose money. So it's a completely different world from what you're doing. You're already kind of set up for success, because you're going to get in stuff that is definitely healthier, or should be.
Oh yeah, it should be. Like, I always expect everything to be really well, I guess, in good health. They're this well off. That's what I was trying to say. But there's always the odd one that just they don't take to shipping well for whatever reason. It's just the individual, right? Sometimes that just happens, especially if they're on the younger side. But I always make sure I'm ready for those kind of situations or any emergencies. Like I have saline on hand for sub-Q injection for instant hydration if it's ever required.
Yeah.
So it's usually just wild caught stuff that really need that kind of thing. But there's the odd rare time where I've had like super sensitive anoles come in, and they were just on a trip from, I don't know, Spain all the way to Germany, then Germany to here. And that could take a toll on them sometimes if they're not packed up properly from a newer seller. So once they arrive, I immediately get on their case and treat them, make sure they're good and hydrated. They always have very nice plant, like the anoles in this case, they'll have a very nice planted terrarium. They don't just stay in a container. They don't go in something barren. I make sure they're comfortable.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Do you find a lot of people, when they see the word imports in your business name, kind of looking at you negative or say negative things before they know that the way you are as an importer?
Yeah, so funny story with that one. It's a kind of a spin-off of the import thing. So last expo, apparently a friend of mine overheard some people saying that I oil my snakes to make them look healthier and shiny.
So that's the trick.
That's what I've been.
Good to know. Good
Well,
to know.
then.
That's the trick.
It was like, it's actually
lots
funny.
Of things look shiny when you
It's
oil
a baby
them.
oil or canola oil? I guess that is
Coconut.
Totally avocado oil, guys.
Oh.
The
Yeah,
trick.
got
I forgot about that one.
Yep. But I totally oil my snakes to make them look healthier because they're imports.
We have a jar of coconut oil.
So that's what I'm doing. Just gonna wipe them down.
So
It's really good for your dogs if they have allergies.
Once my boas are ready to sell, I'm just gonna wipe them down with coconut oil.
yeah, make sure you get some extra good lighting and the whole nine, and
Maybe
they
get a
smell
picture
delicious.
of some sand and a little beach umbrella behind them.
That's what we used for our old dog that we had, who had really bad skin issues with like a food allergy. When we figured out it was food allergy, we switched the food, everything got better. But in that couple of months where we were waiting for hair to grow back, our vet suggested coconut oil. And basically you would just put it on the little bald spots, and it kept him from scratching everything. So.
And that's why snakes are extra shiny.
Yeah.
And the extra keratin growing on it.
That's hilarious.
Who would have known? You learn something new every day.
Right.
Oh.
So yeah.
We're gonna have to add that to our list of things that are just completely random.
Just lather my snake down with coconut oil.
Yep.
He enjoys it. I enjoy it. It's good for both of
I
us.
was waiting for you to say something.
Oh man.
Oh God.
No, I'm just stuck on lathering snakes with coconut oil.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you'll normally when people hear the word importer, they're automatically thinking sick animals. And I don't think a lot of people think about the fact of importing captive bred stuff, because there's a lot of stuff in Europe that we can't get. Like the one thing that drives me nuts over here is our inability to have green Sanzinia. But like in Europe, there's tons of green Sanzinia in Europe.
Yeah.
Like,
We have that problem here too.
Okay, I know what
Really?
that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-
we have the. Go ahead.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
married into the hobby, so I'm like,
Fair enough.
I don't always know what everything is.
I really want some green Sanzinians here, but we can have CITES 1 animals, but it's a very difficult process. So we don't have Santinians up here.
Which sucks because down here you can find folks that have the Mandarin, which makes them sound more fun. I just like to call them the ugly ones.
They are. I saw them last Tinley show. They're everywhere. Like
fucking
everywhere.
ugly. Like I don't get
surprised.
And when someone goes, I like the way mandarins look, I just have to think like this person has horrible taste. Because if your option is that or a green, it's not even close.
I agree.
But apparently in Europe they don't have mandarins, they have greens. I'm like, how the fuck does that work? Like we can ship things back and forth.
But not those guys. Yeah.
Which is funny because like Madagascar is one of those places that randomly will open up its borders and they'll ship everything fucking out except for apparently Tanzania.
Well, it's because they're on Appendix 1 in CITES. That's why. So until they hit Appendix 2, it's never going to happen.
But it's crazy that they're the issue because you hear about it that over there there's tons of them in Madagascar.
Yeah.
Tons of them, but they're not super rare to find in Madagascar.
It's true.
But they'll ship out hognose left and right from Madagascar when the borders open. Because you can always tell when the borders open here because you're like, oh, look at all the giant hognoses that are available for sale.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So but again, I don't think people think about the things that are bred in Europe, especially over here. We don't tend to think of the reptile hobby in Europe. I know the higher end people do because they're dealing in shipments from like ham and stuff and breeders.
Yeah.
But the general person doesn't tend to think of the reptile hobby and really in a different country. I think a lot of us tend to think of it in our country, in our bubble, and then we forget that the rest of the world does it. And then they also breed and do the same things that we do.
It's true. It's true. I used to be that same bubble, but it wasn't for very long. Like I realized importing was a thing when I was 16.
So is that how young? Is that when you first started importing stuff?
Oh God, no.
Oh, when did you start?
I was 24.
Oh, the ripe old age, 24. Okay.
Yeah, 24.
So and we don't want to do like the whole background. How do you do this? But how do you get into that? That's just such a weird thing for me to wrap my mind around because it's so easy for the regular person to go to a show and like buy a ball python from a person they're talking to, but to get hooked up because there's so much paperwork and logistics and legality issues for shipping things from across an ocean, how to get it to you. Yeah. How did you get started in that?
So it's a story. So I'm just going to go before importing story so it makes sense. I have never been one for boas or ball pythons or corn snakes. I had to be that unfortunate child that, oh, I like this mangrove snake. Oh, this vine snake's really cool.
Really wish shit would bite me. That'd be great.
I was thinking you like the bitey ones.
I do. I really do.
Like, I'd really like the stuff that bites and that happens to be venomous, but there is no anti-venom, and we just have to hope that I don't get bitten.
Pretty much. So when I was like 16, I was like, I need a mangrove snake. Like by then, I had an Asian vine. I had a mock viper. If anyone knows, it's not a true viper. It's mock viper. It's a colubrid. It's rear fin colubrid. They're really cool. They're like this big. I had some weird agamas, and I had one boa, but I really wanted a mangrove snake. And being in Canada, we are so far behind in the industry up until recently, where it was just leopard geckos, crested geckos, ball pythons, boas, around and around to go. Same things. So I was like, how do I get a mangrove snake? And I was going through forums for hours on end. I was running into these like German websites and everything, and I just couldn't figure it out. So a friend of mine just happened to be like, oh, I know someone with a mangrove snake, and it recently came in from Europe. I'm like, oh, interesting. Got it. Whatever. A few years later, I discovered there was a mangrove snake called a Polillo mangrove, and they're the ones that are blue and yellow and black.
Oh, that's cool.
Absolutely stunning. And this was back in 2013. And I was like, I need this so badly. How do I get it? And by then, that's when like Facebook was kind of around, like slowly getting more popular. And I was in some groups and I saw someone post a picture of one in a trash can. Like just for a bin photo, it was in a garbage can. It's a big female. And I was like, I need this. So I contacted the person, asked if it was available. He's like, yes. So I'm like, I'm going to buy it. I had no idea how I was going to get it back, but I'm going to buy it.
We'll worry about the logistics of this. Yeah. Right now, we need to know that this belongs to me.
Right? And I was like, do you mind holding her for a little bit until I figure out how to get her to Canada? He's like, yeah, no problem. And I could give you a name of a couple people that could maybe help you. I was like, okay, cool. So talking to these people, and they took the snake in because they were okay to hold her, versus the other seller because he wanted to make space. And they're like, "Oh, a Russian friend of mine just produced the first generation of these. Would you like a pair?" And I'm like, "Okay, why not?" So now I had these 3 snakes I didn't know how to get, and they found a broker in Europe that I'm not going to name because he's a horrible human. And basically they hooked me up with him at the time. It was great at the time. And so I asked a few friends if they want to get on the ship, if there's anything they want from Europe. So from there on, I got the animals in. This was 2015. Yeah, 2015, I think. And then from there, I started doing shipments twice a year with just friends, just to get an idea of how it works and what to do. And then by, I would say, 2018, I was doing it in terms of work and just taking orders from people and still learning the laws. It's ever changing. But it basically just started with me trying to get 3 snakes and having a few friends in on to help split the cost of the freight, how expensive it was.
Yeah, and I can only imagine shipping from across an ocean. It's got to be expensive.
It's not cheap. That's for sure. But yeah, that's basically how the ball got rolling. My taste for ridiculous snakes.
Have you found things that you were able to import originally where laws have changed and now you can't do, or are they harder?
Oh, absolutely. Or it's a lot harder. So one thing I always keep a close eye on are the CITES appendix, because every year, sometimes twice a year, they have amendment changes. Sometimes things go on to CITES, sometimes things go off CITES, or they change appendix. So that's something I have to be very careful about. So, for example, the recent change were a lot of Australian species, like blue tongues, even our very common northern blue tongues, they went from non-CITES to Appendix 3, which Appendix 3 isn't the end of the world, but it's still a very much of a headache process. So stuff like that, it's just a lot less coming through. Now, like, it still happens. Like, I could get the CITES 3 Australian stuff through.
Well, there's a magic portal in Germany.
Magic portal.
There's always the magic Australia portal in Germany, where things magically show up and they make it away. That's like when you see melanistic blue tongues pop up in the United States. You're like, well, those weren't here originally,
right? So there's I have the answer for that. People always assume it's Europe. It's not. It's not. It's Hong Kong.
They moved the magic portal to Hong Kong. It travels.
So a lot of people that want like blue tongues and whatever else, it's usually through Hong Kong. So I mean, Europe gets them too. They buy from Hong Kong, but it's literally no different than the States. People just say, "Oh, Europe's a smuggling country." No, it's not. It's literally no different than the States. It's no different than Canada. In Europe, the only reason why people think that is because they're much, I don't want to use the word advanced, but ball pythons, crested geckos, leopard geckos, they're not really a thing in Europe. Like, they are there, but they focus more on the oddball species. They like having big displays, big zoological type facilities. So anything that is rare and uncommon in North America is common in Europe because that's what they prefer to work with. So you just see them much more frequently in Europe, and people just assume, oh, they must have smuggled all those in. It's like, no, they're just years ahead of us in knowing the species.
Erica says she doesn't think that part of smuggling has really changed since the 70s. And they've gotten better at it. I mean, people can, unless you're, what was it? What's his name that had I keep saying it started, the one with the leucistic boas. Stone, with his sister and his pregnant belly. Jeremy Stone. And his sister with the pregnant belly. That's always my favorite smuggling story. That worked, and then the dumbass was like, "Hey, Reptiles Magazine wants to do an article. Let me put this illegal snake on the cover of Reptiles Magazine because I'm a moron." Yeah,
like, I definitely don't encourage anything like that to happen, but you know what? It happens, unfortunately, everywhere. It doesn't matter what it is. It's not even an animal. It doesn't have to be an animal. People smuggle cars. You know, it doesn't matter what it is.
The changing on a CITES list has to get annoying when it's something that's already a set up population in captivity, and you're wanting to ship captive bred animals from captive bred animals, but now because they got put on a list because of the wild animals, they're harder to ship.
Yeah, and it's pretty ironic because I often wonder why are ball pythons on CITES,
Because they're so rare in captivity.
Exactly. Sorry, 1 second. I just found a piece of metal on the floor.
Well, that's good.
Let's
So
not.
step on that.
Yeah, let's not. So there's some things on CITES I'm just like, why? And I don't know how CITES does their things sometimes. Like they have countries basically make their, I guess, a proposal to what they think should be on the CITES appendix. Then they have a big meeting, and then they're like, oh, okay, let's do this, this, and this. We all agree on it. And there you go. Most of the time, it's for the worse. Sometimes it's for the better. So it's a pain in the butt. That's for sure. Especially when you need new blood for a species that's already pretty, what's the word? Pretty...
Inbred?
Yeah, I guess I was trying to think of a nicer word. But yes.
There's no nicer word.
Yeah.
There's not. I mean,
That's already
kudos to you for
limited in the
trying.
gene pool. There
Yeah.
you go. It's already limited in the gene pool.
Whose heads are now rounder than they used to be, and their
Yeah.
eyes don't look the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like bearded dragons.
Oh,
Our bearded
yeah.
dragons don't look like wild bearded dragons in the slightest.
They really don't.
Yeah, the CITES is weird. Like, so I got two Louisiana pine snakes, and they're a protected CITES animal. They're endangered, at least here. They can't. I can't.
They're on your ESA list.
Yeah.
It's not CITES. Yeah.
But that's another one. Like they put them on a list. I get it. They're rare in nature.
Yeah.
But no one's fucking catching them in nature because we can't. Because you can't find them either. So like, let people own them and breed them and have them in the hobby. And no one's going to go search for them in nature because it's a pain in the ass to try and find one in the wild. Don't make it harder to breed and sell them in captivity.
Provide proof of captive bred everything, and you're good. Like if you prove it that they're breeding and laying and you have eggs.
Yeah,
there you go.
Because here you have to, for me to sell out of state, I've got to have a permit. They've got to have a permit. And to get if it's just somebody who just wants one, it seems ridiculous for them to have to get a permit. I don't know. The whole process I find weird for a snake that it's not, no one's out there hunting them in the wild. There's no huge hunting parties for Louisiana pine snakes in their small little one section of forest they live in.
Yeah. So Erica McVeigh's post made me think about it. There was that book I read.
Lizard King?
The Lizard King.
Yeah,
I actually read it on our honeymoon on the drive down to Florida. But it was a lot about the smuggling and the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, it's about people now who are older who want to pretend like they're innocent and they're really fucking.
There's a lot of really big names in that book, and I'm just like, oh, I recognize this name.
There's one name in that book that I find ironic all the time when he posts online now about how imports and smuggling.
Maybe they've changed their ways.
Yeah,
it is true. Like
they could be rehabilitated, James.
He's not.
Mm-hmm.
He's not.
So, I mean,
He's
it's
just
been
older.
almost 14 years since I've read the book, but it was a great book. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I read it a long time ago.
I mean, it was a necessity. A lot of these species aren't. Look, again, going back to bearded dragons, legally shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Based on when
they are.
Yeah.
Actually.
Well, just a lot of stuff out of Australia.
Yes.
Legally should not be here in the numbers they're here.
Yeah, there's bearded dragons were one of the few that were legally exported before the law went into effect.
Were they? Because I've always heard that the law went into effect before we got most of them. I would imagine there's been a lot of exporting of them through magical portals since then. But
yeah,
it's magical portals, Katie. It's the only way you can explain solid black blue-tongued skinks in the United States. Magical portals. Because I remember seeing the first one in Australia, and then like a few years later, seeing it in the United States. Magical portal. That's funny. So I want to go to our other question because it does tie into that. Our other question was, if you were going to buy any import reptile, what would it be and why? And there were a few on here that were Australian. They were like, I want Australian stuff because I can get Australian stuff. So I want to go through some of these, and then we'll get into if you import any of these. But obviously, if you import them, you're importing them from captive bred populations for the most part. But Ashley Howdy said fresh super dwarf retic blood. So that's still, I don't know if that's still possible now that we can't because they're retics and we can't bring anything. I don't think we can bring new retics into the States because of.
Well, that's a good question.
I don't remember if we can.
I don't know. Well, because of everything going on in Florida.
Well, we squashed at one point we won. That one keeps going back and forth. So I don't know. I don't know how that goes on. Lee Reddy said chameleons. Of course, he wants chameleons of all species. But we look for top quality imported locality specific animals. So that just is a lot of that is going to be if Madagascar is actually shipping things out or not. Which again, regime changes. Ryan Cox said Europlatus fimbriatus because no one breeds them in the U.S.
That's surprising.
That'd be an interesting one. Those are cool ones. Drew Schultz. Yeah, Drew Schultz, you can keep dreaming on this one. Parentes. Not fucking coming. So
Hey, there's one in the States, though.
there's one in, like, was it that zoo in Montana or somewhere up there?
Ty Parks has one.
So how did
Ty
that
Park,
happen?
and there may be two things. I want to say there's a one of the reptile zoos in somewhere up in like the mid-north.
So how did that happen then? Magical portals?
Well, they could have had zoo stock out of Europe.
So if you have your AZA or here is the CAZA, you basically can legally do importations from like Australia or the Philippines as long as both parties can legally export and you have a proper paperwork. So the plus side with that in the States, you guys can still deal with the private sector. Up here, we cannot with the AZA, our version of the AZA.
Gotcha.
So at least these perennies, if they were legally imported into the States, at least private sector might have a potential to get them.
Parentes are a cool lizard.
So what I'm hearing is when there's a chance when he gets
if Drew can be AZA, then he can try to get
AZA.
Parentes. Yeah, there's also a price tag that comes with them. Just because you're AZA doesn't mean you can just get it. Ryan McVeigh said Varanus olive. I'm
Olivaceous.
Whatever that one is. It's a lizard. I know that. It's a monitor. It's about as far as I can go from the genus. But Jason Milanovich said he'd go for Corn Island boas since there doesn't seem to be anyone breeding them any longer. I regret holding off on getting some when they were more readily available. That happens a lot with stuff.
It's a Corn Island boa.
It's an island boa species. It's a smaller boa, like red tail.
Okay.
It's like
There's some in
Fog Island.
Canada.
Of course there are.
Yeah, there's some in Canada. Not many, but there are some. My friend that just recently left, he's getting a pair from a friend of his very soon.
They're just another island boa. So they're going to be, I'm afraid to use the word dwarf, but they're a smaller imperator species. But that happens a lot. There's a lot of things. And there's some on this list that kind of went through that process of they were very common 30 years ago. And because they weren't ball pythons, bearded dragons, or cresties, they're not that common now.
Exactly it. It's unfortunate, but
it happens to the hobby. Like it, but now those animals, if you do have them, you can get a pretty penny for them because they're expensive because no one has them when they were like $40 animals before. Daniel Cruz said Candoya. But I don't want to get one of those feeding on rodents. I don't want to get one of those feeding on rodents. Oh, she doesn't want to go through the process of getting them to feed on rodents. So she said probably Russian rat snake or Central American dwarf boa. Those you don't have to worry about imports. You can find a Central American dwarf boa.
Easy peas.
Cheap. It'll probably bite you, but you can find them. Russian rat snakes may be a little harder, but I'm sure they're out there.
Russian rats. I know someone that has some in the States.
See, Danielle, so just reach out. You can get your Russian rat.
Talk to Josh Alder.
There you go. I had to look up the names. I forgot. I was going to say Lori. I knew Lori Trini's name, and my brain went blank. Lori, because she posted under behavior education, but she said Liasis, which is another one. Liasis savuenensis or savu pythons.
Yeah.
That's another one that falls in that group of they were really fucking cheap at one point, and no one wanted them, and now no one has them, and people want them, and they're more expensive now.
Yeah, the silvers especially are super nice. I love them.
Yeah. She said, because they're endangered, and I'm working on a theoretical SSP proposal for the species, and it would be helpful to obtain the genome sequence of the species and test for heterozygosity in the wild population to see if a viable managed population could be established for conservation breeding that would preserve 90% of the founder genetics for at least 200 years. It's a lot of words, Lori, for you want a bitey snake out of Indonesia.
I mean, she knows what she wants.
Or New Guinea. New Guinea.
Hey, bitey and flighty snakes are cool.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna pass. I'm not much for getting bit, but savus are cool. They're a cool looking python. Again, they were a dirt species 30 years ago, and they just a dirt python. It was cheap. You could get them. I saw savus at pet stores, but you won't find them floating around simple pet stores now. Jessica Moore said Hydrosaurus species and Chinese water dragons. What's Hydrosaurus? What is
Selfins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Specifically for setting up breeding groups, get as much genetic diversity as possible while they are still available for import.
I think
water dragon import is done, right? That's
actually, in a weird sense, yes. So they've only moved to Appendix 2 on CITES, so they're the same as boas and ball pythons and all that jazz. But the problem with the Chinese water dragons, they came out of Vietnam, and Vietnam doesn't do CITES. None of the exporters do CITES. So until an exporter decides to start doing CITES, I don't know if the government even has CITES going in Vietnam or not. But
that's
basically, until that happens, you're not seeing any more wild caught, which I'm okay with that because, well, I don't think I have to explain that one. But
I do wish that Chinese water dragons were easier to get because they're a far better replacement for green iguanas.
In a sense, but they still unfortunately fall under the same category of unfortunate care because of their cheap price.
Yes. But they are easier to set up than a 6-foot pissed off male iguana that wants to kill you.
Agree. I'll agree within reason.
I also like Australian water dragons, which you can't get either.
Yes. Really?
Cool.
Why?
I don't ever see Australian water dragons for sale.
Oh God. Let's give it about 3 months.
I never see them. They're cool. And I interned at a zoo when I was in college. I had Australian water dragons. They're cool looking water dragons.
Oh, they're amazing. I usually probably get around 50 or so every year. Babies.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're like this big. They're so cute.
I never see them at shows. Here's one that I do wish we could get in. As much as I've had bad luck with the species because mine hated me and I sold it, but Antaresia morphs from Australia. There are a ton of really cool Antaresia morphs, and it's a python that people can house in a smaller cage and still do a cool setup. But technically we won't have them. Now, again, I still think they'll show up here eventually, but right now we can't have them. Allison also said savus from Indonesia because they've gotten so rare and expensive in the States. Yeah. People see savus. Jason Moreau said, if I could, from Australia, I would definitely import some Strophoris. Those are the little geckos, aren't they? Those little.
Yep, they're cool spiny tail geckos. Yep.
Yeah. For some fresh bloodlines, I've seen a few here or there. Jack said, dwarf Burmese pythons for my collection. I have 1.2 captive bred animals, but some new blood is always good. Dwarf Burms, those would be cool. I know Michael Pinnell had some dwarf Burms this past year. And then Joshua Silver said anything from DM Exotics. Yeah, if you're in the U.S. and you think imports, most people automatically think Dan Mallory. DM Exotics, that's the first place to go to. But so yeah, that's the list. Again, there's several things there that are Australian that you're just like, yeah, well, sorry.
Well, Strophoris are doable, just not directly from Australia.
Yeah.
And they're one of the ones that recently went on the CITES list. But I have successfully already exported some from Europe to Canada to the States. It's a very long process, but they've been legally exported. So it's not. Sorry?
Are they the ones that can shoot stuff out of their tail?
Yep.
What do they shoot out of their tails?
It's like gooey. It's a way to get away from things they're trying to eat them.
It's not like the salt from marine iguanas.
No.
So I've had this happen to me once before, the very upset one. It just came out of the shipping box. It was very upset with me, and they gape their mouth open, they stick their tail up, and if you just anger them the wrong way, like it's like tree sap. That's the best way to explain it.
It's like little streamers that shoot out. Like you can find video of it in slow mo. They waves and then just like comes. It's weird. It would make things not want to put their mouth around them.
Obviously,
yeah, it doesn't smell nice. It actually smells pretty terrible.
Erica said butt shooters.
Okay.
Yes. But it's another one of those cool little geckos that there's, I think, like 2 species that I've seen in captivity.
Oh, there's lots. There's like 4 or 5.
Really? I've seen 2 of them. When last time we went to NARBC in Arlington, I know some folks that got Strophoris. Fuck it.
You had it, Strophoris. Yep.
It's Strophoris.
Strophoris.
What?
You look like you're having a stroke.
It's
Should I be concerned?
You can't pronounce these words.
Oh, God, no.
That's
I
what
don't
I
even
thought.
try.
That's what I thought. So what do you focus on mostly for your collection wise? Do you breed much, or is it mostly just doing import selling? Because do you have time to breed?
So I have I'm weird with everything. So I don't keep many animals myself. Actually, I did a count earlier today. I'm not including my morning geckos in this count because they're morning geckos.
Yeah.
I don't know how many. But besides them, I have like 10 reptiles to myself right now. But what I do, I don't actively breed like most people. So what I do, I have species that I really, really enjoy. So unfortunately, they're always wild caught. Like we had this goes back to you talking Latin names. I don't know common names. So I apologize in advance. I'm a Latin name person, totally.
I think that's awesome that you can remember them all.
Well, especially for her shipping in and out, things have to be written Latin on boxes and labels and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I have Chironius scaurulus. They're called like a waggler sipo or a fire snake, machete snake. And yeah, but these ones are like the bright red. They're gorgeous. She is this cage right here. And then most of my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 pseudoxenodon of 3 different species. They're called like the false bamboo snake or a big-eyed bamboo or a false Chinese cobra. You might have heard that one before. But I keep those guys. Everything I keep is more or less impossible for the average keeper. And the reason why I do that is to learn about the species, because they're the type of animal that people want. They're like, oh, it's pretty, let me buy it. Oh, it looks like a cobra, let me buy it. But they die. There hasn't been a single, I'll try to use the common names, Chinese false cobra that have lived past a year, to my knowledge, in captivity within North America.
Do we know why?
So they're not kept properly. So my longest lived one so far, she's going on 2 years. And the key is knowing exactly what you have to do as soon as you get them.
Gotcha.
And people, I know this is so controversial, but the trick to it is you have to skip sterile quarantine process. I know that sounds really messed up, but there's some animals that are just so sensitive that they go from that. Exactly, they'll just die because they just came out of God knows where, the Amazon forest, whatever, China, wherever they come from, and they get plopped in a box, put on the plane, shipped to God knows who, and like they've gone through a lot already. There's been little water, no food, and these animals are, go figure, the frog specialists, so they have a very fast metabolism, and by the time you get them, they're wasting away. So you have to, assuming they're in overall good health or not like disgusting in any shape, way, or form, have a very mature planted enclosure ready for them to put them right into. So that way they're at home to the best of your ability, their stress levels reduce, and fake plants and hides it doesn't cut it, unfortunately, because you cannot get the proper husbandry that they need. Yeah. So in my case with these guys, what I do that I've had the most success with, like daily care aside, they have to stay between 68 to 78 degrees. They cannot go higher. Nice. I have alarms that go off on my phone once it hits 81 degrees because that's getting near lethal for them. Oh, so wow. I could just go on my phone, shut all the lights down, and that's it. So I have cork, like half rounds, that I bury about 6 of, depending on the enclosure, it's like 3 to 6 inches into the ground all the way to the bottom. And I bury it in dirt. I add more dirt on top. I put plants all around it. So they have an option of always having the 68 degrees under the ground that's very humid. And if they want to warm up, they could go to the 75, 78 degrees at the top. And people fail to do that for them. They just throw them, room temperature. They need it cold. They still need the ambient gradient, I guess you could say. And people...
Sorry. Room temperature is going to change depending on the house. I mean, we know people that keep their snake rooms 88 degrees.
What's that?
So
fat.
Yep.
Like that snake would die in that temperature.
Oh, absolutely. And people think, oh, they're from the rainforest. They are not. They're a temperate species. They need dry. So people think you have to spray them and keep their humidity like 80%. Like I keep mine at 40 to 60% humidity only. And if they want more humidity, they could go into their cool burrows where it's a lot more humid for them. So I have to give them all these different options, and then they choose what they want, and all is good.
Well, it's like we talked about earlier about the sunbeam snakes. A lot of people get those and they bring them home and they set them up like a general snake. I mean, that thing just needs to live in a thing of moist dirt, and it's going to go hide. That's it. You don't.
Yep.
They'll see it at a show in a cup or even in a cage or whatever in a table with dry cypress mulch, and it's just sitting there in a corner on dry cypress mulch. They go, "Oh, I can do that." Yeah, you can. That's not how it's supposed to be, though. That is literally a dirt snake. It just you bought it to let it go hide in the mud. Let go do that.
Yeah, exactly.
A clean cage with paper towels on it is not the way to set that snake up, especially since most of those are fresh imports, anyways.
But
they're not.
People still have to be careful with that. Like I know people, they might hear me say this, like, "Oh, I could just grab one and do that." It's like, no, there's so much more to it too.
Yeah.
Like my last batch of pseudoxenodon I got in, every day, twice a day actually, I was giving them subcutaneous injections of saline because of how dehydrated they were. They don't visually look it, but you look for the subtle things that causes dehydration, that are symptoms of dehydration, like dimpled scales. They don't have the wrinkles going on the sides all the time, but dimpled scales are enough of a sign for me, like, you need water. But they won't drink standing water in a bowl. You need moving water for them because they like to be by the stream sides because they eat frogs. And so with that, I had to make sure they were drinking water, getting injection twice a day. Like their immune system wasn't good enough to take whole foods. So they'd have to get slurry. I do a very easy digestible slurry for them twice a day to get their weight up until they were comfortable enough to settle for a few days or a couple weeks. And then I'd start offering them food from there.
So I'm almost afraid to ask, what is in this slurry that you're making?
Is this? I could put a picture up.
So that's a pseudoxenodon macrops. They come in many different colors. That
one of them.
Just
just really pretty. I like red.
Yeah. My one female I have, she's red, yellow, and black.
That's awesome.
She's so sweet. I love her. I love her to death. She's my longest living one.
So what's in the slurry that you're giving?
Oh yeah. So it's a little strange, but it works really well. Depending on the situation, I will do Pedialyte as the main liquid base for electrolytes, like plain Pedialyte. I get it's actually a Royal Canin easy digestive cat food, like the pate. Yeah. And then I will get, I don't know if it's the right word for it, but like a very holistic cat food, I guess, like all canned, all wet foods, but it's just like one or two ingredients and that's it. So I'll get either a chicken or duck. Usually I start with duck, sometimes rabbit, just because it's very high caloric content in it.
Right.
You're not blendering your own frogs.
I was just gonna say, I was waiting on you to say like,
oh, but wait, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. So for the first week, I give them this cat food blend of high calorie dense slurry to really get them going, right? To get their metabolism going, but they're easily digesting it. And then about week 2 or 3, while I'm still doing this, I take bullfrog legs, like the frozen legs that you buy.
And you're injecting, I'm assuming you're injecting the slurry down the throat?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Depending on the size of the snake, it could be anywhere from 1 to 3 cc twice a day. So eventually I will start introducing bullfrog legs into it, but I do have a freezer full of whole frogs that they get once they're ready to go onto their natural frog diet. And they tend to take to frozen very quickly. So it's really not big of a problem. When I do the slurry at week 2 or 3, if they're healthy enough, I'll start doing internal worming. That's one thing that's so important to do for frog specialists especially, but never immediately, otherwise you kill the snake. You never worm your animals immediately.
Yeah, stress from everything going on and then pumping their gut full of this
toxins. You're intoxicating the animal, right?
I vaguely remember somebody telling us, like, if your snake is going to die within 2 days of you having it, it doesn't matter if you treat it for parasites those first 2 days. Like give it a week to 2 weeks to get settled and
Yes.
get eating,
De-stress.
hopefully, and to de-stress before you start putting
Yep.
medications into its system.
Exactly. So all these frog eaters, they're absolutely stunning, which is why it's the frog eaters. I don't know. I love them to death. People love them to death and impulse buy them all the time. So ultimately what I keep is me trying to learn about them to teach the public what to do and what not to do if you do decide to get this animal. And that's actually what I do it for.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's
It's not
so
just
much more
because-
work than I thought.
It is. It's not just because, oh, they're cool. Like, I don't really sell my collection much. And if I do, like, people know what I keep, what I do, whatever. But just in case, on that off chance, like, everything stays here or close to me, the people I trust.
So, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. Is
Oh,
this
it's fine.
what you do full time?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Darren asked, how do you decide what to import? And I guess that's two different sides. There's the side where you import things like we just talked about for yourself.
Mm.
I guess I want to tie into that. What is the most common thing you're importing for customers?
It's always different.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
It's always different. So I actually do not import, unless it's like a pet relocation, I don't import crested geckos. I don't import ball pythons. Once in a blue moon, I will for people, but I mostly import the weird, uncommon stuff for whatever coincidental reason, which is I'm fine with. That's my specialty more than anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mostly the weird, funky captive bred. So Australian species are a big one. Garter snakes. It's weird creatures. Like last import I had Peruvian monkey nulls come in. I've had captive bred.
I'm looking that up. Hold on.
Yeah.
Peruvian
Monkey nulls. I don't know if you'll get the proper. I'm just throwing a name out there, hoping that's what it is.
Well, that's cool looking. Wait, I've seen that before. Hold on. Or I've seen something like that. That is cool. Hold on. let me-
Peruvian bush null might be a better one. Polycris peruvianus is the Latin name.
Okay, same pictures came up. That's a cool looking anole. Bright green, all stripy.
Yeah, that's the one. So I've like little funky dudes come in like that, or broad-headed wood lizards are another one.
They've got like an iguana face going on. Their face.
Well, it's an
reminds
anole.
me
It's
of-
like what David at Eclectic Reptiles, what he breeds, those famous
Oh
funky
yeah.
anoles. It's in that same
It's in
kind
the
of group.
same group. Yeah.
So another one is the Amazon dwarf iguanas.
These are all things I've never heard. I don't know. So they're the off-brands. Amazon.
You don't really do lizards, though.
That's true.
Yeah, Amazon
They have-
dwarf iguanas.
They have
They're
legs
cool.
and they eat more often. That is really cool looking.
Right. So I get like weird little funky dudes like that for the more of the specialized keepers. I'm trying to think of funky snakes I get in.
Do you find snakes are easier to import than lizards? Or
Yes
either-
and no. It really depends what it is. So another recent import I had eight lined kukri snakes come in.
Oh,
Those
wow.
were interesting to keep for a little while.
I know what those
So
are.
Travis Wyman has kukri snakes. So
I'm
we're
like,
talking
oh, I
about
know that name.
He grabbed it. He got a few through me, and they were interesting. They were very different for a kukri snake, not what I was used to. But feeding them was pretty interesting. Just quail eggs, and you beat it in a little bowl
Yeah.
and stick it in, and they
You
eat
see
it. It was pretty
videos
great.
of that kind of stuff. Yeah, weird
Yeah.
ass snakes that slice you with their teeth.
Yeah, bro, they suck. They are terrible. That's one little colubrid I am deathly afraid of getting bit by.
Yeah, he got
So-
hit by one. I think a baby that he had hatched. Last year, or the year before. But
It's
yeah,
not
those
nice.
Those are weird ass little snakes.
Yeah.
I just
But
figure
those-
lizards are harder because usually have a faster metabolism. So you're talking about
Yes
shipping.
and no. So in my case, the shipping is very minimal. So when I do my imports, I actually avoid the ham shows the best I can because it's more stressful and longer career time for the animals. So I do it during the off season, I guess, because most exporters do it around the ham and Houghton shows, or sorry, the Houghton
Yeah.
shows. But it's just you have a high theft rate. Just because of
Oh,
how
really?
many people are there's so many people there, like someone could swipe it and you wouldn't even know. So that's an issue. Just the traveling, the heat of the shows while these animals are there, and just everything, right? So I usually do it a few weeks after the show. I have people take a few animals from the ham show, babysit them for the few weeks, so it's a little less stressful that way. And then I ship them over, and it's only like an 8-hour flight. That's it. So I get them and I set them all up here, like
only 8 hours.
Well, it's not that
I'm
bad.
considering that it's like, you know,
I mean,
sure it's
we
like
ship things
24
overnight
hours
here,
from
so
the-
yeah.
yeah, like FedEx is a lot longer, for example, overnight shipping.
Yeah.
Yeah, so once everything's here, like I keep them for about a week to 2 weeks, like make sure everyone's settled, they have water, they get fed. I don't ship anyone out immediately ever because that's not fair on the animal at all. So they stay with me. Unfortunately, with snakes, I get the most pain in the ass species ever, just because that's just what I do. Like baby mangrove snakes, like the whole genus Boega is what I really specialize in, and the babies really don't like to eat until they're around a year old, sometimes younger. So sitting there for an hour assisting like 20 babies, it hurts my soul sometimes.
So when so someone orders in a baby Boega, say a baby mangrove, and you get it, do you take it upon yourself then to put several meals into it, or do you just want to get one meal, or is it that person's job to do that?
That person's job completely to do that. When you're buying baby Boega, you should just know they are being assist. If you did your research, you know those babies are being assist fed. It's just an extra bonus if they're already eating. Now, I've had many babies come in surprisingly eating, and I will always give them the opportunity first to eat with me. And what I do with that, like I'll have a pinky, and I have a bunch of like a frozen house geckos, way too many. And I'll I'll thaw out a piece of the house gecko, I'll take the skin off it and wrap a pinky in it. And usually they get eating that way so they could eat themselves, and I don't have to worry about it. But if I have extra stubborn ones, they do get assist fed.
It's just such a weird process to explain to someone who's not a reptile person.
Yeah.
I skin this small lizard, and then I basically make a jacket for this baby mouse to wear. Yeah. So now I have a baby mouse wearing a lizard jacket, and then I feed this lizard jacketed mouse to a snake.
There's no way we'd own anything like that because that is too much.
I mean, it's once they're past that stage, like, and if you know what to feed them, what they like, it's within 3-4 feedings, they'll be pretty much switched over. Now, the weird part with those guys, once I have them eating, there's a very good chance if you ship them too soon and they're eating, they're going to revert and you have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, see, there's one species I would, if I had the time, there's one species that would probably have to go through that process that I would want to keep. And that's viper boas.
You're full of that.
Because they're little lizard eaters when they hatch. Or are born. Not hatch. Right, when they're born.
Yeah, when they're
Did
born.
Barry ask our two
No,
questions
I'm going to get,
today?
we'll talk to Darren. Yeah, I'm going to get to it. So the Reddies over at Reddies Rainforest are asking about the chameleon community up there. I guess from an importing stance, and if you know anything about it at all, but how often do you import any chameleons? I mean, that's most.
I avoid chameleons like the plague. They're way too set. So it's nothing keeping.
Too.
The Reddies are the reason we own this one panther chameleon, because I said I'm never getting another chameleon, and they talked me into it.
So keeping them isn't the issue. Sorry, it's the shipping stress on them.
Yes, I can see that.
They're way, like, I've dealt with super fragile, sensitive species, but there's something about chameleons that they suck when it comes to shipping, and it's not fair for them. And I can't control how the seller in Europe, for example, is going to pack them.
Well, and I've seen so many wild caught, and here, now they're not supposed to do it anymore, but here we'd get a lot of caught out of Florida and then sold. So it's the same thing. It's a wild caught imported animal. It's just coming from Florida. But you'd see it put it on the table, someone buys it, and then that person doesn't know shit about chameleon. They just know chameleons change colors, and I want it to look like my shirt, which is not.
Oh God.
And then they just they'll walk around with the show with it on their head or on their shoulder, and this thing is just like solid black, stressed out, and you're like, yeah, this is gonna die.
So I've never actually seen ours get any black on him
Because he's not stressed.
Oh, I know that, and I know that's a great thing. That means we're doing everything right. But
I've
even when I
seen
take him out, now he does huff at me, and I do the little. Amanda was like, just whenever he does that, just rub under his chin, and he'll be fine.
But I've seen some veiled. I've seen some veiled, super dark. It shows that people are just walking around with that they just got off of a table, and I'm like,
that's the worst.
Oh, it's
You know
bad.
what I just thought about?
What?
His birthday's in 6 days too.
That is true.
We share a birthday. That was one of the reasons we got him.
Yay.
I think it's cool that I share a birthday with my chameleon. Thank you.
I think the Reddy's lied to you to get you a chameleon.
I don't care.
That thing was born in October.
I have a
or
birth
something.
certificate and it has my birthday on it.
Darren Watson, he's been running across a lot of captive bred viper boas lately. That's cool. I imagine they're expensive. Captive bred baby viper boas are not cheap.
Interesting.
And I'm interested. I'm wondering, are they the pretty ones? Are they the red ones? Because
No,
I've seen,
because
I've seen a lot of the shit brown black ones that.
So I don't know if it's legit. Maybe I'm just talking on my ass, but aren't they sexually dimorphic to some degree? The males are brighter.
I don't know.
I could be totally lying. I just have that idea in my
imagine
head.
size-wise, they're probably sexually dimorphic, like many other.
Oh, for sure. But there's some
Uh,
species out there where the males are very visually different, even of snakes, but not always.
I bought one once, and it was beautiful. It almost looked like a baby copperhead. It was red and orange, but it was an adult, and I didn't think about it. I wanted it, and it was cheap. It was on a reseller table. It's definitely one of those like imported, quote unquote, farm raised viper boas. And it just starved to death on me. It would never eat. I tried everything. I tried lizards. I tried everything. It would never eat for me.
Okay.
And so I'm done. I can't do them anymore because it makes me too sad.
Keep him in mud. Not literally mud, but lots of dirt.
So in like 6 different websites, I have found that they are sexually dimorphic and that there is a geographic variation.
Yeah, well, because there's a lot of islands and stuff over there.
Within the species of the.
Well, it's like you look at the Solomon Island ground boat. There's a ton of different types over there.
Yeah.
Darren said brown ones is what he's seen. Yeah, dirt ones. Because no one's selling red ones because those things are fucking amazing.
Or the yellow ones are really nice too.
Those are kind of cool too. I
Yeah.
have a weakness for bright red, super clean animals. Like if you can find some of those viper boas that are bright red. Now, there are some people that have gotten lucky that have gotten ones in that are imports that are eating, and then once they shed their forest skin, are fucking amazing underneath all that mud-covered, tannin-soaked skin. And they shed off, and they find out that they're actually red. They're not black. I've seen that before. They get this black viper boa. It sheds off that tannin-soaked shed on the outside, and it's pretty underneath. That would not be my luck. It would shed and still be shit brown and black.
That's funny.
But I want one so bad. They're such a cool looking snake. If anybody's ever like, I want a venomous snake, just get that. It's like owning a little viper that won't kill you, but it will bite you.
Oh, they bite a lot.
It's going to bite, and it's not going to feel good.
They're little
You got your
missiles.
gloves, you're good.
That is true. But I may have to try and find a viper boa again at some point. But just to me, it's a cool looking snake. But again, it's another one of those that is imported a lot.
Yeah.
And, they get around being wild caught because they're farm bred, which is just like a wild caught.
Yeah.
So
It's
the glove comment made me think of it. We didn't talk about this at the beginning of the podcast, but my youngest brother came to visit this past week, and he brought his son with him, who's 7. And the last night they were here, he finally got to go into Uncle James's snake room, and Uncle James showed him everything. This
Awesome.
kid asked better questions than like some of the teenagers that we've had at our house. He wanted to know how many species of snakes we had in our house.
that was not an answer I knew off the top of my head, and I still kept getting it wrong, and I kept adding.
And it was great because when my brother came in, I don't know where he had been. I guess he was like in the shower or something. But he came in. He was like, "What are y'all doing?" And he was like, "Uncle James has 18 species of snakes."
I think
in
it's
his
not.
house."
I think it's 19.
I think
Actually.
it's 19. I'll have to text you and tell him. But
That number kept changing as I realized what I had.
and then he noticed that with some snakes, James would put gloves on. Other snakes he wouldn't. So he was like, "Why are you putting gloves on?"
Yeah, and,
Like he was
and hold
very
on.
aware.
And
of
Sean
it.
Gray, if you're listening to this later, fuck you. I don't care if you make fun of my gloves. I don't like getting bit.
Everybody makes fun of him.
Don't like
because he
it.
wears gloves.
My hands aren't covered in bite marks.
Although this 7-year-old thought it was pretty smart of him to put gloves on so
It's
that he didn't get.
Genius to put gloves on
He's like, that makes a lot of sense.
because I have mini sand boas that will bite me,
But
and
he
I don't feel like getting
was.
bit.
He was very interested in all the different textures of the different snakes, and he
Sand
was
boas are a
really-
great one for that too, because their tail is
Yeah.
totally different than the body, right?
Oh yeah, that's
Well, and
absolutely.
there's several different species of sand boas,
Yeah.
and so they all feel different, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, because like the Russians are smooth the whole way down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was.
And
the
then
kid had a blast.
The Indian sand boas are fucking weird.
Yes, he did think those were very strange, and he had a great time, and he talked about all the different colors, and
I also love gloves because the snake is completely different if it's a glove versus a hand. If I reach in there with a hand, it's going to eventually bite me. But I've reached in with gloves and then I don't know what the fuck this is, and they don't bite it for some reason.
because they don't know what it is.
It doesn't
It
feel
smells
like another.
totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, it smells like a leather glove. Like it's not. It doesn't smell like a human.
Plus, my sand boas, they strike out of nowhere when you first reach into a cage.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get us off on a tangent.
Any-
We didn't
we always
talk
do
about that
tangents.
fun part of our our week last week.
That's true. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else in the chat. I just make sure I didn't miss anything. We're good. Okay. So how do you ever go over to Europe or anything to make these connections, or everything online, phone calls, or how often do you make it over?
One day, when I'm not poor. One day when I'm not poor, I definitely will. I would love to. I've been trying to go, and then COVID happened, and then I couldn't again. And one day I'll go there. But basically, it's just online friendship over the years.
Yeah, I assume
Yeah.
a really good network of breeders and all that, people you can trust, because it's gotta be tricky ordering things from across the world if you don't trust the person.
Exactly.
Do you have any like horror stories of like you trusted the wrong person and got something in and it was just not what you were expecting?
Early in, yes, when people thought they could just,
Is that a frog?
No,
No, that's her cat.
It's a cat.
no,
You didn't see the cat earlier?
That's not a cat.
it's
Oh.
not the cat either.
Oh.
What is it?
My quail.
Oh,
Oh,
that's funny. I said there was a cat earlier. I saw it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a frog. Frogs always have weird ass calls, and every
I do
Those
have
crazy.
frogs too. They sound like ducks at night, but yeah. But yeah, I've had that happen early in when people thought they could just screw with the international person because who cares about that person?
Yeah, you're never gonna see them.
But there's been a lot of respect gained over the years, and I've learned who to deal with, who not to deal with, and I could get a lot of references from other people that way. With my own personal sales that I do on my website for other people, it's people I can vet and really trust. I wouldn't say like trust my life, but like just trust them as a good partnership, to the point where I could ask them if they could help me go get an animal in a country next door to them, so they can meet up with this person and keep it for the week and then organize it to this country, to that country, to ultimately make it to the exporter. So I've had to organize things a few times that way. That goes like from Slovakia to Czech, and then another city into Czech, and then all the way to Germany, just because the one seller that somebody wanted an animal from would not go to Germany for obvious reasons. That's a very far drive.
Yeah.
So I would ask really good friends of mine from a bordering country if they could go meet up, and I've never really had issues with that. It's just getting that really nice friendship with them over the years, and they're happy to help. And I've found a lot of Europeans I work with, like I could trust them more than several people in North America that like I'm friendly with, like not, I wouldn't say good friends with, but friendly with, and they will do anything just to help. It's really cool.
I'm looking through your website at what you have, and I don't remember what these things are called, but I've seen them before.
Those are
And
cool.
Those green and white gecko or lizards, geckos, whatever they are.
Oh,
It's
Naltinus.
like
I
the,
want
the size of your thumb.
I want that.
New Zealand green geckos.
Those
Yeah,
are cool.
they're freaking awesome looking. I've seen them in pictures before. I'm like, that is a cool looking lizard. This
Fork
was
stealing.
Tomasa? Are those the
Euromastics? Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the little ones with little stumpy tails.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Those are cool ones too.
Those are cute.
Oh, look, it's an angry frilled lizard. There's some cool stuff. All right, everybody should go check out Northern Lights Reptile Imports.
It's a big word.
It's a lot. It's a lot there. It's a mouthful. What is? Okay, I've seen this before. It's a little. I gotta put it on the screen. That's what I'm gonna do. So I don't just say, "Hey, what is this thing?" And
We have the technology.
we do. I've seen these before, and they're a cool lizard. What is that?
Let's see it. That's a Gurnia epsisolus.
Yeah, what she said. That's cool.
I
like
don't
spiny
know.
lizards.
I don't know the common name, but they're cute and they get this big, and they're just the funniest things. I had a pair for a while, and I decided to sell them for.
Okay, I know
stupid
Pagona
reasons, but they're
Viticeps.
great.
Pagona Viticeps is a bearded dragon, right?
You're about to say a ball python.
And I was, because it was sort of the B, and it's a common name. I did not mean it. I was for anybody that has bearded dragons. I went down talking bearded dragons, which I think is one of the most underappreciated pet animals that are sold in the pet trade, or at least worst taken care of pet animals in the pet trade. So there's some cool. There's a lot of cool. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of cool looking snakes. A lot of things I'm sure you like. Just God, I don't want to get bit by a lot of them.
But right here, you can see my disclaimer for people.
These are wild caught. Some reside with me already, but you can get more. Sexes are not known.
So I
See,
don't
how
hide
often do
that.
you get people that are like sex that's forming, and you're like, no.
Oh my god! Sorry, I'm gonna turn these lights back on. It got really dark. So, unfortunately, often. I'm just like, guys, read. I don't know until I get them. Like, I want a pair. And it's just no.
And then
I'm
some
sorry.
of them, I imagine, just aren't sexable. Like they're like it's not.
It's not as easy. Sorry, I'm just dealing with the shenanigans here. Like when someone is nice to me and not jerkish, I will get them to pair to the best of their ability. Absolutely. And especially if they're trying to add into a group of some stuff they already have. Yeah, I'm going to totally dedicate them as priority because they are serious and diversifying a bloodline for a species that needs to be produced in captivity.
Versus Draco subspecies. Is that the dragon?
The flying dragons. No, flying dragons.
Oh, okay.
Not something I encourage people to get. I actually have declined a lot of sales on those. I didn't bring any in due to that, just because they're so. It comes back to like my false cobras. They have a very specified diet of ants, and if you cannot provide that, you're not getting them.
What gecko is
What
this?
kind of ants? Like just regular ants?
I'm ants. So that is. Oh, I forget the name. I think it's Pachydactylus something. You'll see it on the list. I'll see it on the list.
Let's see.
It is. Oh nope, I was wrong. Colopus kochi.
Sure, it's the old coochie lizard. That's what it is.
No.
That's what she said. I'm just.
Colopus
going through
kochi.
What the? Oh, that's cool. Okay,
See, I didn't even know this stuff.
People need to go back and
existed
look.
out here.
This is a. I don't know. I was gonna say big-headed helmeted
It's
something.
a Gonocephalus doriae.
That sounds like you need to take some sort of antibiotic for that.
Mhm.
It's an anglehead dragon. I don't know what the common name is. Oh my god, these lights are going off.
This is a freaking cool lizard.
Yeah, I've had a couple come in last ship and they were amazing. They're so fun. Did I get it right?
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
What's that?
And Fisbiana. It's like a legless lizard, but
But not.
they live in the
Why?
dirt. It's a dirt thingy. So it fits into my hole, it buries, and you never
Weird
see it.
and dirt.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But it's cool looking.
Right. I'm
Just going-
thankful those never came in because I would be very sad.
What the? There you go. It's a black lizard, Katie. You'll love that one.
Sold.
I had a few of those come in. They're sweet.
See where James is all about the reds and the pinks and the clean. I'm like, give me something solid black.
I love bright colors.
I do.
Okay,
Don't get me wrong.
now we're getting to the boring stuff that I see on a regular basis.
But
We're getting just king snakes. So I love your heading for this. Oddity legged
things. It gets
Legged
people's
things.
attentions, right?
This is just weird shit with legs. Who wants some weird shit with legs?
Yep.
I'm
Exactly.
anti legs that eat more often.
Unfortunately,
Okay.
I get offered a lot of lizards, but it's
There
pretty cool.
There you go. Okay, look at that thing. The lizard. It's got like spiky
I
tail.
know.
Yeah, that's the type
I
of
like
Stropharis.
lizards.
Yes, your first. And look at the spikes above its eyes. That's a cool lizard. Anyways, I'll stop shopping through here. Things I can't afford. But I definitely suggest people go check that out. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. All right, so I'm gonna go through again. This is Chris Eaton's least favorite part of our show, where we go through the stuff that's on our Facebook discussion group and look at it. I will pull it up on the page. That way, Chris doesn't complain because I never pull it up on here for people to see. But there's some interesting things that came up this week. One was sent to us by a listener, but this first was Nathan Bush. This was a turtle. Oh, I gotta hit the extra share button. There we go. There's a turtle with a hole. Like this whole backside got knocked out. You can see it's a hole in its shell.
Jeez.
This unfortunately is one of the problems with reptiles, especially when we go like wild caught in imports. There are certain animals that unfortunately for them are very hardy and can live through a lot of shit. And certain importers have found out which animals those are, and those are the ones they can put on a table and sell without them dying right away, and they can keep making cells. Some turtles, that's one reason unfortunately for sulcatas. Sulcatas are unfortunately really good at not dying through horrible care.
I've seen a few.
So talking about turtles, so there was a post made today, so it's going to be like one of the very last things you show on here, and it was about a turtle that came through a windshield.
Jesus Christ!
It was in Savannah, Georgia. My problem is the picture that they used is from the inside of the car. And I can't help but think that it was photoshopped because it doesn't appear that, like, if the turtle would have made it that far into the window based on the picture, it would have gone the whole way through. Like, there was too much of the turtle on the inside of the window, not enough on the outside of the windshield. But then when you read the article, it talks about how if the windshield wouldn't have stopped the turtle, it would have hit the passenger.
Where was the turtle at to hit the windshield of the car?
I can't remember that part. So that
Did someone just throw it out of another car?
Hold on, I'm looking.
I mean, because they don't fly.
Well, it suddenly came through their window.
As opposed to slowly because it's a turtle.
She actually thought it was a brick, because
you're not expecting a turtle to come flying through your windshield.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at it.
I still question how the fuck a turtle got through. Like,
okay, so looking at this picture, maybe. Oh damn!
But being in the windshield is not the weird part. The weird part is how did it hit the windshield? It's a turtle.
Yeah.
Like
all they can figure is that it got hit by another car and then it was thrown
up.
It's
fucking weird. I mean, we've hit birds with cars and bugs with cars, but they all fly.
Yeah, but I mean, like this. I mean, it's no little turtle.
They already are slider.
I mean, it's like a huge red ear slider.
This other post Nathan posted is the person complaining about how to keep bugs, I guess, off of their plants. He said he couldn't stop thinking about can't stop the outside from being outside, which makes me think about if Robert was here. There's been posts lately in some of our local neighborhood groups complaining about alligators
in our ponds.
In the ponds, and it's like, yeah, there's apparently to them there's too much nature in nature, and they don't want all that nature in their nature.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's an alligator. Well, you know shit. You live in South Texas. There's alligators. That's how that works. What Erica said? What did either of those two things have to do with imports, though? I don't know what she's referencing. I apologize, Erica.
The turtles.
The turtles.
So we jumped from talking about imports to things that people have posted this week.
Erica, have you not watched enough? We don't follow one path.
We don't.
We just throw things at a wall and see what sticks. I'm trying to go through what.
But my stomach is starting to grumble. So.
Also want to remind people of our June giveaway. I did post that. Our June giveaway is a fun pack of reptile themed games, and all you have to do is go on there and tell us your. I'll tell you the exact question. What or where is your favorite family summer vacation or day trip? That's all you gotta do, and then you're put in for the pack of reptile-related games that we found. Yep. The Hungry Turtles is my favorite. It's like Hungry Hippos, but it's turtles.
I don't know. I kind of like this 3D Snakes and Ladders.
3D Snakes and Ladders is interesting. Mm-hmm. Headbands is always.
It's also in. I'm pretty sure this is French.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's in French.
It looks Frenchish.
Where?
It's on the side of the 3D.
3D Serpents et Echelles.
Yeah.
The heck are you guys looking at?
It's not on the screen. It's on our. We have it over here.
Oh.
Again,
okay.
we jump around. Let me take.
Sorry.
Hold on. Let me
go back to the regular screen. So
she can't see that from there.
No, I know. I'm trying to. I'm not
there we go. See, there it is.
I'm pretty sure that's French.
Oh, 3D Serpent. Yeah, that's definitely it. That's definitely French.
But it's
but isn't it supposed to be Spanish in the States, not French?
Yeah, I don't know why it's French.
Sometimes they are French though.
Like this time.
Crayola crayons, you can buy them where they're French or Spanish, depending on the box.
Oh. That's weird. I posted this got posted up. It's a melanistic green iguana. We've had a theme of melanistic animals lately that I've gotten posted. We saw the melanistic paddlefish, the melanistic. There's another one out there, but then there's this green iguana that is melanistic, which looks kind of cool. Solid black iguana. Hognose just being hognose. What else? Oh, here's a stupid girl.
Oh.
This girl picked up this garter snake, which was not a garter snake. It's a copperhead, and she's like loving on it. And then it did what it would normally do, and it bit her. I'm like, how fucking stupid are you?
It's not very garter snaky.
It's not even close. It is extremely copperheadish looking.
I mean, good intentions gone very bad.
For everybody looking at the picture, here she is, just cuddled up with this copperhead, and she got bit. And
her mama obviously never taught her don't pick up things in the wild.
Mom, you stop it, didn't teach her. But so that was this week. That got posted. We got to talk to our buddy Max because he's been over in Africa with the Asclepius Snakebite Foundation and got some amazing pictures of black mamba. He got my solo tonight. He's holding a western, one of my favorite venomous snakes, the western green mamba, with gigantic scales. That was really cool. Mm-hmm. Erica McVeigh, who's in the chat, just taking over our Facebook thing and posting questions. I'm just kidding, Erica. You can post all the questions you want. She said, "Do you folks speak another language? Have you found it helpful in the reptile dealings? Have you read papers, books, conversed with pros in languages other than English? I imagine Ashley speaking anything non-English probably helps in certain situations."
Well, when you read on the comments, one of them was saying that a lot of their stuff is in German.
A lot of the lizard monitoring books.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, no.
No. There you go, Erica. That is the answer. No.
I just create my own dictionary with all the different languages I deal with.
Love it.
Oh, there's your story with the turtle. Oh, one I did share to our Facebook page. So I had to listen. I got to pull up his name because he sent this to me, and it's a video that I shared on our main Facebook page because it was hilarious.
Yeah, it's not on the discussion page.
No, and it's also on our Instagram. But I want to get his name. It's Bryson Halford.
Talk into the mic, James.
Bryson Halford.
There
My
you
bad. He posted a picture. He asked his Google Dot or whatever to play the Reptile Gumbo podcast, and it wouldn't. It said it's not safe for children.
And that his account was not
set up so it wouldn't play
voice activation.
We are not child friendly apparently, and yeah.
Which makes me realize that his kids use that Google Dot, which is why it would not play a podcast, which made me feel a little bit better.
That kids don't hear us cuss all the time?
I'm not gonna lie, it made me feel a little better.
Look, if a parent lets their kid listen to us, that's definitely on the parent, not on me. What is Erica Macy? Can we get a petition to get Ashley on Morph Market account, please?
Oh,
is it because you're Canadian? Is Morph Market?
Oh god!
Because she's a dirty importer, and they don't do dirty importers.
I see. I don't know. That's why I figured there was a joke there that I didn't understand.
It's an unfortunate situation. I'm pretty sure I'm very hated despite having a phone call. So, understandably, Morph Market terms of service is that you have to have the animal in hand. I get that. I don't work that way, but I deal with very trusted sources I've been dealing with for 5-6 years. And you know what? If the animal doesn't come in, the customer gets refunded.
I love Erica. Free the importer.
And I almost always get what comes in. I could provide countless references of well-known people across the globe in the community, but I'm not allowed a Morph Market account, and I've tried, and I get ignored. I try again, and I get ignored. And I'm like, please, in the comments, just please.
Speaking of Morph Market, tomorrow on our buddy Sean Gray's podcast, he's having Darian on. So if anybody watches that, feel free to mention that they should allow Ashley on Morph Market. Go on there and just flood their podcast saying Ashley should be allowed on Morph Market.
There you go. I had a wonderful phone call with him, but it was all about wild caught stuff, and it's I don't do wild caught though.
You don't want to have to get that little label that everybody threw a fucking fit over?
I mean, I do wild caught, but I don't have to post it on there. I could do legit, real snakes that exist, not made up shit.
So I'm really glad that we had you on because I mean, there may or may not be anybody else out there that thinks the same way I do, but I never even thought about imported stuff being captive bred.
Yeah.
I automatically just assumed. I mean, no.
There are other countries in the world other than the USA.
Yeah.
I know patriotism.
Well, I know
no. I know. I'm very familiar with importing.
Well, hiring crested geckos to get shipped over to Asia all the time.
I guess I just never thought about if it's captive bred that it's still considered an import. I don't know why.
Right back. Keep going.
I just always assumed that if it was imported, it was because it was wild caught. And
it's a very common misunderstanding because everything imported from an importer's table are Indonesian stuff. That's the classic, whatever you want to, the word. I don't know the word right now, but a lot of it is captive born and bred, and now it is. But they're still being imported from one country to another.
Right, because it's from one country to another. And that makes complete sense. Again, I'm married into this, and so I'm the one on the podcast that's the general public doesn't know this. Let's clarify that for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my job on this
podcast. That's awesome though. But unfortunately, no matter how many times I scream and yell and stomp my feet saying no, captive bred is still imported, people still look at me as a primary wild caught importer. It's not the case. Yes, sometimes a lot of it could be long-term captive, but at that point, it's no different than a captive bred. Now,
Exactly.
yeah, now I'm not saying most of my stuff is long-term captive. It's just I lump that kind of in the captive bred, captive born section just because they have been treated. They act no different than a captive born or bred. They are extremely healthy animals.
Right. I think that's really cool though. But
Yeah,
it's like, but like I said, I'm sure that we have. I mean, we have some listeners that listen to this that are like me, and they're not really reptile people. They're just involved in the hobby because of their spouse or a loved one. So it was very interesting for me to learn that.
One thing I wanted to bring up about, what is your quarantine process? I definitely assume your quarantine process is different from when you get wild caught stuff in versus when you get captive bred.
So I have an import room. Now, it's how that works depends on what comes in. So everything gets completely sterilized twice over before I have any import in. I use peroxide and disinfectant. So the peroxide is to help kill any potential pathogens. Like, for example, the only way you could potentially kill Cryptosporidium is through peroxide. Basic disinfectant will not kill crypto. Gotcha. Now, I'm not saying I expect that kind of issue, but just as precaution, I always do peroxide first and foremost. And then after I was just general disinfecting, and then I get all the enclosures ready, so on and so forth. So when I have a big, large shipment come in, they do all go within the same vicinity, I guess, like within the import room, plus some enclosures on the outskirts for the extra sensitive stuff that need to be out of the import room for either temperature or plants or whatever. But past that, everyone gets looked over very carefully for any sort of external parasites like mites, because mites are very much a common captive bred issue as well. It's not just a wild caught problem, right?
Do you find them more on captive bred stuff than wild caught stuff? Because I always hear people say they find very few mites on wild caught stuff.
My experience, it's always more like I've seen them in the odd wild caught, like super fresh wild caught, but I have found them quite, I don't want to say frequently because it's very infrequent, but out of the mite situations, more often has been with captive bred.
Yeah. Or I would assume anything wild caught and then held at a facility for a while around, which is basically
that's where the mite issue comes from wild caught stuff. So fresh, like super fresh wild caught, it's a very minimal problem. Actually, most diseases and parasites are a very minimal problem when it comes to super fresh wild caught because they're not confined with hundreds of others potentially, right?
And because those things die in the wild and they don't, like, usually if they get sick or something like that, they're dying.
Yeah,
and we're catching the healthier ones because
they're exactly, and they're not confined with a bunch of other ones and passing disease, and so that's actually a funny topic with that one. But yeah, so with mites, like everyone gets checked over very thoroughly. If I catch anything with a mite, they get treated immediately, and anything that like they go away from everybody else just to make sure, and I deal with it. I've never had them spread to other animals. So that's good. And I don't get them often, like from shipments, and it's dealt with promptly when I do. But
I was gonna say, I'm sure that your process is just as thorough as your vetting process. It
takes me over 24 hours on average to go through an entire shipment because I go through every single animal so thoroughly. Just for that reason, like if there's a problem, I want to make sure the seller and the buyer know immediately, like, hey, this animal looks like it has an RI, or hey, this one has mites, just so you know. I'm going to deal with it promptly, but you need to know this in advance. Like, this is what happens. So
the fact that you're dealing with it so promptly, it also gives them an opportunity to understand, hey, you're not going to get this animal as quick as you thought because we're dealing with this issue now.
Exactly. So, like, I don't like to jab people, but not all, but a lot of importers don't give a shit. And they just, it has mites. Oh, well, that's part of the import game. It should not be at all. At all. Like, period. It should not be. They should be treated equally to any other animal that's captive bred, wild caught, whatever. They should not be treated like trash at all. So everyone always gets looked over to make sure they're healthy and dealt with as per case if there is an issue. But it's not very often, but on that off chance, people can be rest assured.
Do you find with importing? So I have found, especially doing a lot of shows, the reptile hobby is a copycat thing, right? If something is working, people want to go, I can do that, and they'll do it. Do you find a lot of people see you doing importing and going, I can do that, and then they probably burn out fast, they don't work well? I mean, does it happen quite a bit for you?
Yes, I've had 2 people attempt to do that because out of spite, and I was doing it. Canada is it happens in the States, but there's a lot of spiteful people here. My most interesting situation wasn't so much in terms of importing with them trying to, like they did for a little bit, but how that one unfolded was I was selling animals this guy was breeding. And he was so upset at the fact I was selling these snakes that he was also producing that I was intruding on his turf in Canada. They're Florida King snakes. Just for an idea. And
it's such a rare snake.
Right. And he was so upset with this. And he called Environment Canada on me, which is basically the Fish and Wildlife equivalent in Canada, to tell them
I'm sure you are in contact with them on a regular basis because of what you do.
Yeah, well, I am within some reason. Like I'm not in contact on the regular because they don't do inspection every shipment like they do in the States.
Gotcha.
But he called them saying I was a smuggler, and I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't know this until my biggest shipment I've ever had got stopped at customs for a thorough inspection. It took them 12 hours to do the inspection.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And I knew exactly who it was right away because I heard rumblings this was going to happen from other people and screenshots and whatever, Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is great. And there was some super sensitive stuff in there that had to come out of the box immediately. And I was just like, oh my God. But thankfully, everything went good. I wasn't a smuggler. Shocker. And then he started doing his own imports, and all of a sudden he poofed.
Yeah. Well, I realized it's work. Like there's actual work that goes into it.
Yep.
And that you already have a system set up. But you see that with a lot of things. We go, oh, if someone else is doing that, I can do it. And they don't realize all the work that takes to go into doing that thing.
There's days where I wish I had a 9-to-5 job. Honestly,
yeah, I can imagine.
There really is. And like, it's nice being my own boss within reason, but for what I have to do, like, I just make enough to get by. I do this more for, obviously I need money to live, but I do this for the people, for the animals, to make sure they're healthy. I'm not going to be that person that doesn't give a fuck and wants the dollar. So there's so much more added work I put into it for what most people would say, oh, it's for no reason. But there's every reason behind it, and it's what I do. It's what I love to do. I love making people happy. I love seeing these animals go into the hobby that really need to be captive bred in the hobby or diversified, whatever it may be. And that's why I don't bring in common species, because there's some animals that just really need that captive breeding out there. And that gives me a lot of extra work to do, and people don't realize how much extra work and organization you need.
So on a big inspection like the one you had where it was 12 hours,
yeah.
Are you involved in any of that? Or are they taking animals out and looking at animals and putting hands on animals? Or?
So thankfully they don't physically touch the animals. They look at them, they look at the invoice provided, they actually match species to animals, which I was mind blown. I did have one DOA in that shipment. It was a very tiny Phelsuma, like a day gecko of sorts.
Yeah.
And it was, when a gecko gets upset, they discolor, and especially when they pass away, they look extra funny. And I couldn't even ID, and they managed to ID it. I was like, how did you? I didn't even know what it was. But it was a correct ID, and they're surprisingly really well versed up here when it comes to reptiles.
That's really awesome.
If you have like a snake in a snake bag and they can't see it, are they just taking words on that, what's in there based on what's labeled? Or
that's a good question. I'm assuming so, because on the off chance, what if it's not? Actually, I've been involved in one Environment Canada inspection before. It was for venomous species. They didn't have anyone to help them because they didn't have the training, but they had all the equipment. So I was there. It was an Indonesian import, and we had to verify all the cobras that came in because they were CITES animals. So did take them all out of the bags just to make sure they were the right species listed.
Yeah.
So in my case, being I don't really deal venomous like that, I think they just went off what was on the bag. Like, okay, this is on there, this is on there, this is on there.
Like, we don't want to get bit today. We're good.
Yeah, because I deal with king rat snakes and stuff. They're just
pretty terrible.
I'm just thinking fast-moving big snakes, and even like some of the boega, fast-moving, slightly venomous snakes too. Like they're not.
Yeah, so they might be able to see through the bag a little bit. Who knows? But they like the only thing they actually physically touched. It was the bane of my existence. I'm sorry, isopod people, but I stopped bringing in isopods after this because I got a lot of flack and hell from the buyers over this. It wasn't my fault, but so isopods get packed in like wafts of moss because they need it, right? The humidity and everything. So they would pick up the moss to look in it to make sure that there's no drugs or anything hiding inside the moss. So I guess when they did that,
they introduced a species to the wild.
Yeah. So, and all of a sudden it's my fault that people are missing isopods.
No.
And it's like, no, here's a note from Environment Canada. They did an inspection. I have zero part in this, guys. I'm so sorry, but that's one of those few times I will not refund your animals when you are the one that sourced them. I did not even sell them to you. I have no part in this. I'm sorry. It's an inspection done.
Yeah, you're talking about a $25 to $50 ice pod.
Yeah. There's this one where they were short their free isopods, and I had to. They tried to get me to pay for them, and it's like they were extras. They were free.
Like, I'll pay exactly what you paid. Here you go.
Yeah, like you got the count that you wanted. I'm sorry. Like I actually got a box. Oh, I forgot about this, but I got a box. Like it was a cookie container put into my box from Environment Canada, tape around it, and it said, "Found isopods." It was just a mixture of different species. They threw random sticks in. I guess the ones that fell on the floor.
You figure them out. Here they go. It's your job now.
It makes my head hurt.
Makes lots of isopods.
Yeah, like obviously it wasn't all of them, but that was my proof right there of, oh, okay, then this is what happened.
That's crazy.
And that was the worst situation I think I've ever dealt with.
And then one last thing I'm wondering.
Yeah.
How have you found it being a female running your own business in the reptile hobby? It's not always been a female friendly hobby, especially if you're running your own business.
So on top of running my own business, on top of being very much into the weird obscure stuff and being a Latin name person, and people definitely don't take me seriously. I mean, it's changing slowly, but I am a girl. I don't know anything.
Well, of course you don't.
I feel your pain.
You don't have a Y chromosome. What the hell do you know about snakes?
So it is a pretty common thing where I get mansplained a lot in the hobby, and it's just like, buddy, you have no idea what you're even talking about. I've bred like mangrove snakes. I used to breed them a lot, and when I was, oh God, I don't know, I was 20 years old, and I bred them for 7 years consecutively. And when I try and help people with that, they're like, "Oh, you don't know. That's not how it goes." And it's like, "Yeah, it is actually." But
so, do you ever walk up to a table at a show of a reseller who got imports from maybe somebody else, whatever, and they don't know you that well, and then you ask them about animals on the table, things that you have experience with or have imported, and they want to tell you like the wrong information about them?
Yeah. So I was looking at someone's, like, there's some lizards on a table at Tinley. Erica.
Erica's like, can you have ovaries, be hot, and no reptiles? No, of course not, Erica.
Right. It was a Tinley table, and I was looking at some pretty uncommon species, and they were pretty good looking for what they were. I'm like, oh wow. And they're like, oh, that one's gravid, and she's probably gravid. You could make some money off of it. I looked, I'm like, that's a male.
Well, that's why you can make a lot of money. It's a gravid male.
You can try, but and it's like, no, it's gravid. It's like, okay, buddy.
I mean, if you've got a gravid male, that's worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
You can sell it for a ton.
Might have some science experiments run on him. I don't know that it would be for the best.
Like I said, you work in such oddball species, and I know how these tables are at shows, and these are these large resale tables.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't know jack shit about what's on the table because they got that shipment in, and they have these animals that they've never had to care for through a lifetime, through a lifetime of an animal. So they don't actually know the care of the animal. They know that if it goes home with them after the show, it's going to stay in the deli cup or go into a basic tank.
Exactly. Till the next show, it's just going to stay there and then keep going and going. I do so much research into a species. If I'm unfamiliar with them, like if I know what they are, but I'm unfamiliar with them, I give myself a good few hours and read into it to make sure, hey, when it's here, and we're going to have the enclosure set up already for it and deal with it that way.
Yeah, because unfortunately, import animals at a show tend to be those impulse buy animals because at a lot of shows they are the cheaper. Yeah, they're the cheaper stuff, and unfortunately, a lot of them are not good impulse buy animals.
Yeah,
but they do look cool because it is some of the oddball stuff, and it's not the same ball python you've seen on 50 other tables at this show.
Exactly.
And like, it's $50. It's not $1,000 sold.
Exactly. That's one of the weird ways I got into machete snakes was through a Tinley show. I was like, oh, that's an odd little critter. Like I knew what it was. I never thought I'd see one. I was like, I'll give it a go. And I figured I better take it before someone else that has no idea what the hell they eat takes it. So, and then I got stuck and hooked on them.
All right. So we've gone over 2 hours.
We have.
We talked about a lot of imports.
We did. This was an awesome episode. I learned a lot.
And I'm lazy. The only reason I don't do imports is I know that I'm not going to put the time into dealing with like getting it to eat or getting rid of parasites. Like I know that myself.
Captive bred.
Oh, that is true. Yes.
All you do is pay and wait.
So I'm saying.
Yeah, he doesn't wait very well at all.
I need to get some of those captive bred Madagascan tree boas. That's what I need. But that's down the line once I have money.
Yeah.
And they're going to find them.
Let me know when that works out for a 2-teacher household.
Yeah. All that money. Yeah, that's not okay. I'm going to let you go. Just one more. How often do people think that you're rich because you have your own business?
A lot. And it's very opposite. And you know what? Ironically, a lot of importers, they got some good money and they take a lot of vacations. I'm just like, how?
because you're doing the wrong thing. You're not importing the cheap stuff and selling it for more. That's your problem.
It's nearly at cost. I'm only paying for. I mean, I'm only profiting off like the service fees, like the import fees, which is like $100 in
what
animal.
What you need to do is get the giant boxes out of Indonesia that's cheap.
Yep.
And then sell it real quick at a show, and then you make lots of money. Those animals die, and you're fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're gonna make my eye
pretty much. But I am definitely a paycheck to paycheck person. It's
know that feeling.
It is whatever. I mean, we all do it. We're like not all of us, but a good chunk of us are in that position, which is pretty much normal this day and age. It's definitely not a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nope.
All right. So if people want to reach out to you and see what you have and talk to you about imports, where can they find you?
So I have my Facebook page, Northern Lights Reptile Imports. Please God, don't message me on there. It might take a few weeks to get an answer back. My main Facebook profile is the best way to contact me. I don't accept random friend requests unless I'm feeling like I'm in a good mood. But still message me. It's okay. I'll answer you. But past that, my email, it's on my website, northernlightsreptileimports@gmail.com. But all of my lists and stuff I post up and all the service fees, they're on my website. So it's all there. All the information you need is there.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Check out the herp shows on their website.
Again, if you order a VivTech LED UVB bulb, use code Gumbo22 to save 15%. See, Erica, I'm trying to sell those bulbs.
And then if you need to talk to Robert for any reason, ellisreptileracks.com.
Yes, he is. He was hard at work. He will be back.
He really was.
I'd say he'll be back next week. We're not going to be back next week because next week
won't.
we are putting out interviews from the Conroe show. Hopefully.
Yeah. This time next week, I will be probably dead.
You'll be dead
somewhere.
I hope you're not dead.
No, but
You'll be in New York.
I will be in New York, and at that point, we'll have been awake for close to 15 hours.
Anybody that comes by the Conroe show, come by and say hey to us. We will be set up in the front lobby doing interviews. Try and get some really cool interviews for y'all, and we'll have those out next Tuesday. And then we'll see y'all live a week after that.
Yep.
Ashley, if you'll hang around, thank you for coming on.
No
everybody
problem.
else, thank y'all for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will talk to everybody later.
Night.
Good night.
Awesome. Good night.